is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app on a Friday. A Friday before the Bills take on the Commanders. They come here to D.C. Anthony Haney feeling very good. I think it's going to be a fun weekend. Although, man, this weather, I hate that we then go, oh, yeah, except for the fact that there's going to be Tropical Storm Ophelia coming through. What's up, Ophelia? Did you study Ophelia in your Greek mythology?
I did, correct.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'm not actually 100% sure that there's an Ophelia. There is an Ophelia somewhere in Greek mythology.
Yep.
Do you want to tell us more?
Nope. Nice haircut, correct?
Thank you. It finally happened.
Yes.
Also, we'll give away the game here, but we had made the joke yesterday that at some point during the show I was going to magically grow hair back because I was going to tape my interview with Damon Amendolara this morning before my haircut. That's not going to happen. DA is going to join us live at 6:30. Also on the show today, though, Lorenzo Alexander, who played, obviously, some tremendous years here in D.C., and probably his best years. I mean, it was a different role. He excelled in his role in all places, but some tremendous years late in his career in Buffalo, including making the Pro Bowl. So Zoe, a friend of the show, is going to join us either at 4:30 or 5. So you just kind of got to stay tuned to find out. We'll nail that down. Or he'll just show up. So pretty pumped about that. In terms of the game itself, Ron Rivera today revealing the injury report, and it's pretty good. All in all, the Bills actually have nobody out, which is interesting because it did look like it was trending towards a potential problem for Leonard Floyd with the ankle. Micah Hyde, was he going to be able to go? All in all, everybody back at practice today for Buffalo, with the exception of Tre'Davious White, who was just given a vet day. Everybody good to go on the Bills side for Sunday. For Washington, they are going to be without Logan Thomas, which is a big deal. He is their best tight end. I know everyone loves to hate on Logan Thomas, but the reality is that dude is the only guy they have that is reliable as a blocker and as a pass catcher. And this was not his fault. This was not because he was old. It's because Kareem Jackson couldn't help himself from knocking a player out for the second week in a row. So Logan is out with a concussion. And then we hold our breath that Curtis Samuel feels better and that Cam Curl feels better. Both of those players missed today with an illness. Rivera saying the way they used to do the injury report, both those guys would have been listed as probable. So it doesn't appear like it's COVID or anything like that, which, as I well know, can keep you out for a week. But for Curl and Samuel, they just don't feel well, should be back, good to go by Sunday. What's at stake is what we always start the Friday show with. And what's at stake this weekend is the Washington Commanders' first 3-0 start for the franchise since 2005, which, Anthony Haney, is a stat that you gave me yesterday. And what else happened in 2005?
That was the last time we won a playoff game, Greg.
Yeah. It's been a minute.
A long time.
It has definitively been a minute. And it's a chance to say that we belong, that the Eric Bieniemy, coaching move, the Sam Howell choice at quarterback, both second-guessed by many, many pundits, were the correct moves. I think the Howell one is almost the bigger bleep you to the rest of the NFL world, because Eric Bieniemy is a multiple-time Super Bowl champion offensive coordinator. And what are you going to say? Oh, they hired Eric Bieniemy. It's just people that, for whatever reason, thought that Bieniemy wasn't it's all Andy Reid or whatever the nonsense the commentary around him has been about getting a head coaching job. And why? It's really almost a bleep you to everyone who said anything bad about Bieniemy picking Washington. People were mad at Bieniemy for making that choice because they're oh, you're going to kill your career. How could you go to Washington? And it's I don't know. I got talented players. No one's going to accuse me of just being an Andy Reid lackey. Seems like a good opportunity to me. And if I fail, then everyone's just going to assume it's because no one can succeed in Washington. So screw all you guys. And really, he can prove himself right. They're no, I identified a good opportunity because Washington has good players and they're running a good program. And by the way, on the other side of the ball, their defense is pretty good. So I went to a contender. I helped make them a contender. That's kind of the pushback, I think, if you're EB. And then for Ron and the organization at large, it would justify, I think, already, if you haven't done that through 2 games, certainly through 3 with a win over a team the caliber of Buffalo, would prove that you knew what you were doing when you first drafted and then ultimately ran with Sam Howell as your starting quarterback. Again, I thought they were backed into a corner. I don't think they had another option that was really viable. But still, I mean, if they had just brought in Jacoby Brissett, right, and started him, people would have been like, oh, they're going to be mediocre again, but like Brissett will keep them afloat. Let's see if McLaurin and Dotson and Samuel and Gibson and Robinson can elevate Jacoby. And if they can ride this defense, like, if this defense could be great. And now people are looking at this team, and you got every film watcher from network television to Twitter just slobbering over themselves in this Commanders offense. Dan Orlovsky's doing breakdowns on NFL Live. My guy Robert Mays from The Athletic is tweeting about how much fun he's having watching the Washington offense. By the way, Mays is going to join us on Tuesday. Orlovsky maybe next week as well. I got to reach out to Dan, but he's always down to come on the show as long as he can with his very busy TV schedule. Which I think they have a Monday night doubleheader again next week. Anthony, obviously we'll pick all the games later. I haven't looked ahead at the schedule yet. But I think they have another Monday night doubleheader this week, which means Orlovsky's going to have a busy week. So maybe we won't be able to get Dan next week, but we'll get him soon back on the show. Yes? No? Monday night doubleheader? Scroll. And?
Just wasn't moving fast enough.
The internet has failed.
Yes.
Cool.
I think it's only 1, though. I think it's just Bucks.
Well, now you're going to make me look it up. I was in the middle of a great rant, and I got distracted by Dan Orlovsky. By the way, did you see Orlovsky?
Oh, week 3, there are 2 games.
What are they?
Bucks, Eagles, and then Rams, Bengals.
There you go.
Yep.
I don't know which one Dan's calling. Did you see him making fun of Stephen A. and the first pitch on First Take this morning?
So I saw the first pitch, but I did not see Dan making fun of Stephen
He got
A.
like his whole family involved.
Oh,
It was hilarious. I was actually watching it because I was scrolling on Twitter and I was watching it on mute, but we can find that video and see if there's funny audio, and that perhaps could wind up in Real Things.
Yep.
Honestly, we could do 7 Real Things segments today of people making fun of Stephen A. Smith, and I'd be here for it because that first pitch was embarrassing.
Oh, my gosh.
Why would you agree to do that if that's how you throw a baseball?
He said it was a changeup.
A changeup from what?
I don't know what he was getting at, man. It was a really bad throw, though.
Yeah.
And that might be an understatement, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. It was almost as bad as some of his takes. Hey! Anyway, if they win this game, if Sam Howell plays well, justifies that decision. Proves that your defense, depending on how that goes, is legit. That the hype is worth it. That they made good decisions with these first-round picks. It's not just about having 4 first-round picks, but having 4 first-round picks that actually you hit on. That's impressive. And so that is what's at stake. Now, how do they do it? Keys to the game is where we go next. Yours at 301-230-0980. Anthony and I will give ours as well. 301-230-0980. What are your keys to a Commanders win? That's next here on The Hoffman Show. Fortier, how are you, and are you using the headphones that I sent you?
I am using the headphones that you sent me, so I'll not be pulled over. And I got to tell you, man, seeing the craziness coming out of Chicago today with the Justin Fields comment, with the DC abruptly resigning, it's just like giving me flashbacks to what this team used to be like. And I'm like, wow, I'm talking about football in a stadium? That feels odd.
Right. One, God, this call quality is just exceptional. So just, I got to say, I'm going to send you a clip later just so you can hear how clear you are. 2, we actually, so earlier in the show, we did a segment called This, That, and the Other Thing, and we wound up putting the Bears stuff in that. And yeah, it felt very oddly familiar, but also safely distant, which I think is good. All right, we got a lot to get to and not a lot of time. So first, let's... Yes.
James Smith Williams just pulled up and honked at me. I'm on the radio with Craig Hoffman right now. Do you want to say something?
What's up, James?
How you doing, man?
What's up, James? Although you probably can't hear it because this is just in Sam's headphones.
Quick. Craig, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Feeling good. Just talking to Sam. Last time we did a hit with Sam, he put Matt Paris and Ben Standing on, so this is an upgrade.
Way better. Yeah, way better.
Yeah.
Definitely an upgrade.
All right, let's make sure nobody gets in trouble here. All right, James, drive home safely.
Thank you. You have a good one.
All right, goodbye. James Smith Williams, everybody. I mean, that's been an ongoing bit.
Oh, okay.
I think Travis Kelce's got the best bit of all. He's just dating Taylor Swift. So,
That
forget the lyrics. and then we got our guy Ian Eagle talking about Travis Kelce finding blank space in the end zone. Now, that's how you do it. By the way, I did follow up. For those of you that listened to the end of the show on Monday, we said we're going to have to investigate. Was that, did Noah Eagle feed Ian, his dad, the lyric? I texted Ian. I was like, we might have to have you on the show to do this. And he's like, there's nothing to investigate. I'm just a Swiftie.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, well, there goes the segment idea, Ian.
Did you see Jason Kelce confirm the rumors, though?
Yes, he kind of did on WIP today, which is very silly. Jason. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app and streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980, where you can see Anthony Haney answering the phones on the Ace Law listener line, which is where we'll go in a second for your keys to the game. If you're in a wreck, Ace Law helps you get a check. Call 8888 Ace Law. So, keys to the game, 301-230-0980. That is what we would like to know. What do you need to see for the Commanders, or what do the Commanders need to do, really, for them to pull the upset on the Buffalo Bills? Let's dive right in. Aaron, you're first up on the Hoffman Show.
Thanks for taking my call. So I think if Washington put up 30 points and had no turnovers, they win the game because they'll be able to hang with Buffalo's defense. If they end up having one turnover, they have to score at least 25 to 27 points and make sure that Buffalo turns over the ball, putting pressure on Allen 2 or 3 times, and I think they can take this game. But if they win the turnover battle and put up between 25 to 30 points, I think that they can definitely win this game.
All right, thanks, Aaron. It's funny because that is, I think, correct in terms of a prediction. Logan always laughs at me / anybody else who's like, they got to win the turnover battle. And it's like, good analysis, man. Congrats on understanding how football works with the math. The question is how. So I'll take care of the how part because I think that is important. We know that Josh Allen is going to give you opportunities. He is a risk taker. That is who he is. He has done a very good job in stretches, including a long portion of last week's game against Las Vegas, in taking care of the ball, taking the short pass, making sure he doesn't put it in harm's way. But eventually he's going to throw you a couple. He's going to, he just can't help himself. But that's kind of the double-edged sword you live on with him, is when he tries that stuff, sometimes it works. And that's how you get these ridiculous, 50 yards, frozen rope, touchdown pass, where if he's off a little bit, it's like, what is he doing throwing back across his body on the run, jump throw, whatever, and it, hits the defender in the hands. When it hits you in the hands, you got to catch it. And so I think that obviously taking advantage of the opportunities, but I think the other part of this is they should play a lot of shell coverage. I think that in listening to Logan's analysis on Take Command, which you should definitely check out if you have not. And also thinking back just through my own kind of notes from last week and the week before against Arizona, but especially last week with the early struggles against Denver, when they try to mix things up too much, that's when they get the coverage busts. Like, just do not make it easy. You got to make them earn it. So simple, soft shell coverage. Make Josh Allen figure out what you're doing. Decipher the zone, figure out where the open guy is, and then hope that he throws you one. And if he does, take advantage of it. If not, then, just make the tackle and live to see another down. But do not do anything that you're not super confident in if you're Jack Del Rio and these defensive backs, so that you make sure that you, that you do not have any major coverage busts and give up the big plays that way. 301-230-0980. Let's go back out to the H-Law listener line. More keys to the game. Ted, who's actually a Bills fan, I'm told. Ted, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Yes, I am a Bills fan. I grew up in Buffalo. I'll be at the game. I watch a lot of Bills games, and I think if Josh Allen gets hit hard early in the game, he starts making some dumb mistakes. His eyes just get weird, and things go sideways. But you already said a lot of it. So, but that's I think if the Commanders are going to win, they need to rattle him early, and they can find success that way. I hope it doesn't happen, but if it does, I think the Bills will have a long day.
All right, Ted, thank you. That's good stuff, though. Thinking about getting you get one really good hit on him early. And that becomes an interesting philosophical question. Like, do you try to speed him up a little bit? This is a guy that does like to hold the football, but has shown an ability to get it out quickly at times, and they're definitely coaching him hard to get the ball out quickly. And again, your call is 301-230-0980. If we got a couple of open lines if you want to get in here, 301-230-0980, your keys to the game. But, if you bring obviously extra rushers, you're now exposed on the back end. And there was a thought that maybe Dalton Knox wouldn't be able to go this week. He is good to go. They got him. They got Dalton Kincaid. They've got Stephon Diggs. They've got Gabe Davis. Like, the backs are good out of the backfield. They got a ton of weapons for Josh Allen. And so can you risk bringing extra guys? That includes the Cinco package, by the way. Like, instead of dropping 8 in coverage, you're now only dropping 7, which is, I would say 7 is pretty standard. Typically you bring a 5, or, can you get home with, 7. Yeah, 7 in coverage. So if you got 5 on the line, so now you only got 6 in coverage because they play with 11, not 12. Math, not always my strong suit. But that extra, whether you go from 3 deep, 4 underneath to 3 deep, 3 underneath, that's a pretty significant difference in terms of grass that you've got to cover. So what kind of matchups do you want to create? But, and I don't know, Anthony, I'm going to put you in a tough spot here, but I'm going to see if you can find this quickly. Del Rio was asked yesterday about how often you can spy a quarterback. If you can find that bite quickly, that will be helpful. That way I don't have to try to paraphrase. But they used Jamin Davis, they being the Commanders, used Jamin Davis a ton last week, including the play where he forces the fumble on Russell Wilson as a spy. And so that is another option when you think about pressure packages. You blitz with 4, you keep an extra player kind of over the ball, which does shut down an area of grass. And if the ball comes in his area, he just plays coverage. If Allen just sitting back there, if he starts to run, Jamin is fast enough, one of the rare guys in the NFL that is fast enough, big enough, strong enough to go chase down Josh Allen single-handedly. Not saying you'll get him down every time. He's 6'5", 240 pounds. Runs like a 4.5 and is incredibly strong, but that is an option. Anthony, I don't know if that clip was findable. I don't know if it was labeled well. I don't know. We got it. What's up?
It was, so I didn't cut it just because it was like 5 words. He just said, do it as often as you want in terms of, how often a defense could spy.
Yeah, I remember that being the crux. I know because I was there. I couldn't remember if he expanded on. There's a couple of those yesterday where he gave you the short Jack Del Rio answers, and then he expanded. I guess that one he just left there. But he was asked, like, how often can you spy? And he's like, as often as you want, which I thought was telling. He's like, yeah, if we want to spy him every play, we can. I mean, obviously teams used to do that with, like, the Cam Newtons of the world, where it's like, okay, well, if you're always a threat to run, then we always need to have that accounted for. And I think that is an option to kind of hybrid pressure, if you will, between dropping in coverage, having guys try to speed up Allen's process. But in a way, like, I know this is weird because Allen likes to sit back in the pocket. Kind of just let him. Like, if he's going to sit back there and, bounce up and down and, be looking is there going to be some live by that, die by that where you die? Yeah. But he gets antsy back there. And that's also when he'll try to force one. Like, he's not going to just wait until Stephon Diggs uncovers. And also, let's be real, this pass rush is not going to give him 5 seconds in the pocket. He's lucky if he gets 3.5. So I wouldn't bring a ton of pressure as much as, like, heating him up and causing him to try stuff is appealing. I'd almost play the low, instead of playing a high-risk, high-reward game, I'd kind of play a low-risk game where I think the actually reward could be pretty high as well. All right, last one, keys to the game and our calls. Then we'll get to a little Take Command Thursday Take Command Friday or Lorenzo Alexander, and then the other one will be at 5 o'clock. Let's go to Rob in D.C. Rob, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show via the Ace Law listener line.
What's going on? Now, honestly, we at a point right now, I mean, it's early in the season, so the Bills are still respected from last year. So it's a big game for a lot of guys. I think it's a big payday game. So for Chase, for Montez, for Cam Curl, for Gibson, all these guys who want to get paid next year, we're going to need all those guys to play like they want to get paid next year. Like, they want to be some of the highest paid players in the league. If they perform well like that, I think we're going to definitely have a good shot to impress and honestly shock a lot of people. Because if you got Chase and Montez coming off the edge, really planning to go get their money, and you have Gibson actually, performing well and being a good spell back to Brian Robinson, I think we can dominate the Bills, honestly, if you look at what their weaknesses are on their defense and their offense. So,
all right, Rob, thanks for the call. You could, but Anthony, what was the score in the Bills game last week? Do you remember?
It was like 38 to. It was a lot too little.
It was 38-10.
38.
They lost to Zach Wilson. You know what Josh Allen does one time a year? He stinks. And you know what he does after that? He loses his mind for a month before kind of settling into normal, super high level Josh Allen. Week 1 was his bad one. We're potentially in the middle of the hot streak. That makes me nervous. So, if everything goes well, could they dominate? That's the NFL. But let's not pretend like that's the most likely outcome. The Bills aren't just seen as great because of last year. It's because most of the dudes from last year are back, and they're just as good as they were last year. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. So here's what's going to happen next. Either we're going to have Lorenzo Alexander, or we're going to play for you our interview with Sal Capaccio from Take Command. If we don't get Zoe next, he'll be on at 5 o'clock. And if we do, then he's next. So that's the next hour of the show. Sal Capaccio, Lorenzo Alexander, talking Commanders, talking Bills. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, and we're always live on the free Odyssey app. Remember?
Not quite, Frank.
What do they teach you at Georgetown Prep? Icarus, the guy who flies too close to the sun.
Nope.
What do they teach you at Georgetown? Anthony, I think you just put your job at risk at Georgetown Prep.
Why?
There's no way that they did not teach you the story of Icarus at Georgetown Prep.
We actually did a lot of Greek mythology, but we didn't talk about Icarus flying too close to the sun.
Yes, you did. You don't remember it. I feel very confident. Who can we call
It's okay.
at Prep
I'm
to
ask
confirm
my kids
this?
I will just do that right now, actually.
Okay. I would like you to ask someone of authority, do we teach about Icarus?
2 hours later.
Did we ever check in on that, Anthony?
Yeah, my classmates actually texted me and said, "Yeah, we've done it."
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to figure out where you were on that day of class at a later date.
You're right.
Last night, Aryna Sabalenka makes the U.S. Open final, the Belarusian player, and here's how it sounded on Belarusian television.
Арина Соболенко! Ваму! Что Арина недостойна звания первой ракетки мира.
Yeah.
Получите! Распишитесь!
Oh, yeah.
Rising up, back on the street. Did my time, took my chances. When the distance, now I'm back on my feet. Just a man and his will to survive. So many times it happens too fast.
Oh,
You change your passion for glory. It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the night. Rising up to the challenge of a rival. And they lost, no survivor. Все, ребята, я сдулся.
10 out of 10. No notes. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Lorenzo Alexander going to join us at the top of the hour. So right now, let's get you a little insight on the Buffalo Bills from our guy Sal Capaccio via Take Command. Joining us now, Sal Capaccio, who is the sideline reporter for the Buffalo Bills radio network, also hosts on WGR up in Buffalo, fantastic, legendary station up there, and is the host of It's Always Game Day in Buffalo, our sister podcast for the Bills. Sal, welcome to Take Command.
Thanks, guys. Always appreciate talking with people down in Washington. These two teams don't play a ton, but a little more frequent over the last few years.
Yeah, they've actually. I was on with some of your colleagues at WGR yesterday, and they said this Buffalo, Washington is actually Buffalo's most common NFC opponent over the history of the franchises, which is kind of a wacky bit.
Yeah, they've played count the Super Bowl 16 times total,
Oh, wow.
but really over the last several years, it's been every other year. I mean, that's kind of wild. And I listened to that. You were on with Open the Bulldog in our afternoon show.
Yep.
You did a great job, and it was really a
Thank
good
you.
conversation. And what I find really fascinating is Washington is really kind of in the situation the Bills were in for a long time, where this will be the 10th straight game these two teams play where the Commanders have a different starting quarterback.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's when you got 7 in a row for
Yes.
seven season openers.
Yes.
That tends to be how that goes. Logan, how many times did you play Buffalo in your career?
I think I played him in the preseason a couple times. I don't think I ever played him in the regular season. So
Just they missed the Logan Paulsen era. That's a loss up there
That's
in
all right,
Buffalo.
though. Yeah,
All right, let's talk about this iteration of it. When you take like your 30,000 foot view of this matchup, like I think a lot of people look at the Bills as one of the league's best. The Commanders, everyone thought they were going to stink. Turns out Commanders come into this game with a better record. Like how do you see these two teams squaring off?
Well, I mean, number one, it starts with the quarterback, right? The Bills have an elite quarterback in Josh Allen. He's one of the best in the league. He didn't have a great opener on Monday night, but that's very few and far between these days for Josh Allen. He bounced back in a big way, was just named AFC Offensive Player of the Week yesterday for his performance week 2 against the Las Vegas Raiders. And, believe it or not, Josh Allen leads the NFL in completion percentage, right? I mean, how many times we heard, oh, this guy's inaccurate. He's got this big arm. That's just not true. But really what it comes down to Josh is basically taking what the defense gives him and not being impatient. And that's what he did. Anyway, it really starts with him. The Bills are one of the best teams in the league. They have been one of the best teams in the league over the last several years. They won 3 straight division titles. They're competing for Super Bowls every year. I like Washington's start. I like a lot of their talent, especially on offense. And of course, the defensive front is absolutely incredible. I'm a Ron Rivera fan. I think Ron Rivera is a very good coach. Sean McDermott comes from him. They coached together for quite a few years. I think this is going to be a tough matchup for the Bills, especially on the road. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's a reason the Bills are 6.5-point favorites. They have the better quarterback and they have the better roster overall.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So, like, obviously, the quarterback, Josh Allen's a monster. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of the most dynamic athletes at the position. But the thing that gets me is the offensive line that you guys have built there up in Buffalo. I don't know. It's a fine group, but not a great group, not a bad group. And obviously, Washington's defensive line is maybe one of the best in the league. Like, if the quarterback can't throw the football, if he's always under duress, and Josh seems to, when he's under duress, kind of make, some of those bad decisions you alluded to.
Yeah, he can. He did a couple weeks ago against the Jets. What's funny is in those games, the couple of the decisions he made, he actually wasn't even. It was just kind of Josh making bad decisions. In one of them, he rolled left. He had no reason to roll. He had a clean pocket. He just decided to bail out of the pocket. I don't know what happened in that game. It's a tough matchup against the Jets for sure. Look, the offensive line, the Bills did a great job to address their interior over the offseason. That was an issue for them. A little bit too much pressure from the interior, but they went out. Their big free agent signing was Connor McGovern, who's played really well at left guard.
He's played really well. Yep.
And honestly, guys, Osiris Torrance has been amazing as a rookie. His first 2 games in the league. And it's going against Quinnen Williams week 1. And then, of course, helping out on Max Crosby. They don't have the interior, of course, that the Jets or the Commanders have, but he's been fantastic as a right guard just in his rookie year through 2 games. The Bills had to face Max Crosby last week. Now, one guy, not 4 like Washington. And what a great game plan they had for him from offensive line coach Aaron Kromer and offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. And really, Spencer Brown did a great job. Now, if you're looking for a guy who's been a little inconsistent, it's Spencer Brown at right tackle for the Buffalo Bills. You have to go against Chase Young. And that's obviously a tough task for him. The Bills don't need the greatest offensive line because they have an incredibly mobile quarterback who's going to make plays out of structure all the time. What the Bills need is an offensive line to make sure that Josh Allen can stay clear in front of him so he doesn't have to do that all the time, but also be able to block and open up some holes in the running game. And guys, I mean, James Cook is 5th in the league in rushing after 2 weeks. I think it's been kind of an overlooked stat and overlooked that the Bills have been running the ball very well.
Do you think that will continue this weekend, or do they look at this front and go like, that's not going to go great. We're just going to let Josh cook. Like, obviously there's a lot of high upside there, but you put too much on his plate, you get the interceptions in. Like there's a risk reward ratio there. How do you think they game plan it up, knowing that this is the best front that they've played?
Well, it's going to look at this offense funnels through Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, right? That's where it's going to start. Stephon Diggs, he gets 10 targets a game. Basically, they're going to try and do that. That's how they're going to, basically move the ball down the field and score points. But they'll try to run the ball on the road for sure. They'll try and run the ball with James Cook. They'll try and keep that defensive front a little bit, on their heels, I guess, and say we can't just fly upfield and go after Josh Allen because we have to respect the run. Sean McDermott at heart is like Ron Rivera. He's a defensive coach. He's a guy that wants to win in the trenches. There's no doubt. Obviously they use Josh Allen to his best of his ability. They have dialed back in the design runs for Josh a little bit because they're playing the long game and want to make sure that he stays healthy and only use that in critical situations. But I think they'll try to run the ball for sure. And then when they have those opportunities, they'll throw the ball. I'm still in the middle of watching the game against Denver last week. And as you guys know, you watched it, down 21-3. Denver made some big plays and they were able to. And I wonder if the Bills take a few shots if they're able to get those opportunities down the field. But it all starts with blocking that group up front for sure.
Yeah, and you talk about the running game. Obviously, you've got like kind of an interesting collection of running backs there. You've got, James Cook, who's kind of your scat back guy who, again, they get to like kind of unique runs like draws, toss cracks, stuff that isn't like, not downhill like your duos and your powers and your counters. And then you got Latavius Murray, who's been a nice addition for you guys. Can you talk about how they utilize both those guys in different ways and to maximize their skill sets?
Yeah, the Bills truly have it's not a running back by committee, a truly group of complementary running backs, what they have. It's funny. The reason why James Cook is a lot of times considered like a scat back, which what you said, and I don't disagree, people see him that way, is because he's so small. He's the smallest lead back in the NFL. He's 190 pounds.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
you're not going to take a big pounding with him. You don't want him running through the tackles a lot. You're going to give him those draws. You're going to give him runs on the edge. He's very good at the mid zone. They love running mid zone with him. Very good there. And what I'm super impressed by is he never changes direction when he gets from lateral to upfield. You know, as he turns that corner, he's shot out of a cannon basically, and he has big runs by doing that. He's averaging 5.7 yards a carry, 5.8 I think already through the first 2 weeks. And then you have Latavius Murray and Damian Harris. Now, part of the reason is, pass blocking. Latavius Murray's been in this league a long time. They trust him to pass block. James Cook's been better at that actually this year, and they can use Harris like that. But Harris is more of your short yardage, red zone back. Latavius Murray's kind of a mix between the two. He's seen everything in this league. They truly like to use the compliment. I think last week was the perfect way the Bills want to do it. 17 carries for James Cook, not an abundance. 7 for, I think it was Murray, and 6 for Harris, or the vice versa. But I think that's how they want to play it with this group.
All right. On the other side of the ball, we were just talking at the end of our defensive breakdown about the safety combo. And these guys have been maybe the best in the league for a long time. But it seems like they are not quite at the peak of their powers anymore. If the peak of their powers is a 10, like what's the regression? Are we talking about a 7 now? Or are we just talking about a 9?
I think Bills fans will tell you might be at about a 7 looking at the first couple of games and, a couple missed plays here or there. But I don't think it's quite to that. I think it's probably about an 8, somewhere in there. And the reason I say that too is these guys are still, even if, and at 33 and 32 years old, you're going to lose a step, right? I mean, I think that's going to happen just naturally. Right. Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm 50. I know what you mean. Listen, that's going to happen. But I think because they're so smart, they're so savvy, they play off each other so well, and the system is designed for them to be able to still play within structure so well and, do the things they do. Even if you have that, you can mitigate it a little bit. And I think that's what's happened here. The other thing is, the Bills didn't have Tre'Davious White for most of last year. He came back finally on Thanksgiving after recovering from the ACL. He's back. Christian Benford, who won a starting job last year while he was out as a 6th-round rookie, he was in and out of the lineup. I think those two guys have played really tremendous football. And I think because of that, that's really helped those safeties as well for whatever, you want to say about them getting older. I think White and Benford have played really well. But the safeties are tremendous football players. We know that. They also signed Taylor Rapp in the offseason. They've been using him for some heavy personnel, for his big nickel, basically, that Sean McDermott has brought here. So they'll use him once in a while, too, to kind of take a little off their plate if the teams are going to go a little bit bigger and they can play around with a little bit here and there in Sean McDermott's scheme. And of course, McDermott now calling the plays and not Leslie Frazier.
Yeah, so another thing of that defense, obviously the secondary is one thing. It carried the team for a long time, but you guys, or the Bills, have done a lot of investment in the defensive line, a lot of first-round, second-round picks there. What's that group been playing like? And because I always feel like every year, at least the national narrative is that they're underperforming expectation. How have they been through the first 2 games of the season?
Yeah, I think when you put that many resources in, Logan, all of these first-round picks, that's many resources, high picks, things like that, you expect a little bit more return of investment as far as numbers, as far as sacks, right? Which is what the Bills have done is they've always had a really good group. They've had a good group. These guys can play, but they haven't had that one guy that you have to game plan for, right? And like a Max Crosby last week, maybe like a Chase Young now. That's why they went and got Von Miller. That's why they got him. They needed that one guy, and then Von Miller gets hurt. So now they're trying to bridge the gap. But look, they went and signed Leonard Floyd. Leonard Floyd has the 4th most sacks in the league over the last 3 years. So he's
great.
But he's dealing with an ankle injury. So we'll see where that goes. He missed practice yesterday. I don't know if he's going to practice today. He says he's going to play. I think it's a little bit of a re-aggravation, so we'll see. Greg Rousseau, I think, has made a really big jump. He had 8 sacks last year. He's a freak. He's super long. They'll move him inside sometimes to get a little bit interior rush. And I think Ed Oliver has played the best football of his career, maybe over the first 2 games as an interior defensive lineman. This is a penetrating one-gap defense. That's what it is. They're going to just go one gap, get up the field, and try to make your life miserable. And, if you can force them, force them to play a little bit differently and not be able to do that. I mean, that's where you can have success. But once they're starting to do that and pin their ears back, they can be really good. And I think even guys like AJ Epinesa, who make a play here or there, can really help. Another high draft pick. But this is all about getting to the bridge to get Von Miller back. And I think they've done a good job of that so far, for sure. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers, goes out because of a sack from Leonard Floyd. And you guys saw that. That's what happened. But no, they really like this group. But it's more about the collection of guys they have than that true one guy that you have to be aware of every single play.
Sure.
Yeah. What has been the difference through your eyes of McDermott versus Frazier as the defensive play caller?
So they'll use a little big nickel a little bit more this year. Now they've done that in the past. McDermott did that in Carolina with Ron Rivera. But the difference is instead of always using a safety like they did Taylor Rapp. So what happens is they play the Jets week 1. When the Jets went heavy, it was really like 3 tight ends, an extra tight end. So Taylor Rapp will come in as an extra safety. Against the Raiders, they do it with a fullback. They put Jakob Johnston on the field. So now they took off Taron Johnson, who's a tremendous nickel cornerback and very physical. He's just not that big. And they put an extra linebacker on the field with Tyrell Dodson. So I think they're playing the matchup game a little bit more here with Sean McDermott. They are blitzing a little bit. They're never a blitz happy team. No,
Right.
the ideal situation is get home with 4. But look, guys, after they lost Von Miller last year, they couldn't do that. Like you just pointed out, they blitzed more and they were successful blitzing. The problem is they had to blitz. They had to put guys, rushing the passer, which takes out guys out of coverage. That's not what Sean McDermott wants to do, but they'll find ways to blitz. They'll blitz from all different levels. They have, I think, to me, the best nickel corner in the league in Taron Johnson. He can do a lot of different things. He can cover, he can blitz. He's a tremendous tackler. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but they'll use him in a lot of different ways like that. They'll disguise coverages. Even though it's McDermott, the new play caller, it's 7 years straight now of this system. These guys know the system. Everybody who's been in here. So that's the one thing. I would suspect this week, a quarterback like Sam Howell, who hasn't seen everything in this league yet, I think the Bills are going to try and disguise a lot of things to try and say, look, you haven't seen this. We're going to trick him and fool him into thinking what he's seen isn't truly what we're going to give him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Matt Milano. Like, what's your take on him through the first 2 games? Like, watching the film is so much fun, but what's
He's
your take at covering him? Yeah.
He's amazing. Listen, and on covering him, I'll say he is a man of very few words. He
Oh,
doesn't
is he?
speak a lot. Yes. We don't really talk to him in the media because you're not going to get much from him. But when you talk to him, he's a nice guy. He's also, I don't even know if guys know this, like in his life, he's a minimalist. And I had to learn what a minimalist is. I didn't even know. Basically, this guy, he shows up to the team playing with like 1 bag. You're like, where's his clothes? I mean,
Yeah.
in his house, I guess he has like a chair and a bed. I mean, that's what he has, a fridge maybe. That's about it. The guy is a minimalist. You know what he's about? He's about football and fishing in the offseason. That's what he's about. He's a tremendous player. His instincts are incredible. You think about his path. He was a safety basically at BC. Safety, linebacker, tweener. Comes in the league as a 5th-round draft pick, wins a starting job out of training, out of like halfway through his rookie year, wins a starting job, has never looked back. He's played at a Pro Bowl, even all-pro level, really for 6 years. Finally, last year, gets recognition from his peers. First-team All-Pro. And I think he's playing better than that through the first 2 games. The play he made for the interception on Josh Jacobs last week,
Incredible.
Ridiculous.
and after the game, people said he mossed him. Dawson Knox said, no, he Milano'd him. That's what he said. Milano'd, right? The other thing, guys, real quick, you talk about the defense and Milano and those guys. I think it's going to start this week with stopping the run game and saying, okay, a lot of respect for the receivers. I'm a big Terry McLaurin fan. Those guys, they're very good. But stop the run game, force Sam Howell and those receivers to beat you. Last week, the Bills held Josh Jacobs to 9 carries, -2 yards. It was unbelievable what they did on him.
That's crazy. All right, so Sal, who you got this weekend? I know you call the games, but we got you as a podcast host here, so we're gonna make you make at least a general prediction.
Look, the general predictions, I think it's gonna be a 1-score game. I think it's a close game. I think the Bills are the better team. I think they're the better quarterback. In the end, either that's gonna be the difference, or maybe a special teams play. I know there's some issues going on with the long snapper there, and I know last week.
Don't get me going, Sal. Do not get me going.
Well, those can be the little differences, as you guys know, in a game here or there, right? And the Bills had one against them, the punt return that won the game for the Jets on Monday Night Football. That could be the difference. But at the end of the day, I think it's a 1-score game. I think the Bills probably win. I actually think the game's also a little more important to the Bills. Now, that's not to diminish what it is in Washington. 2-0, though. Bills are 1-1, and now the Miami Dolphins are 2-0 and coming to town next week. This is a team. This team has to win this game to make sure they stay right there to be able to play the Dolphins. And it's going to be a great atmosphere. 175 alumni are going to be at this game for Washington.
Yeah.
As I just tweeted this morning, the Bills are looking for any motivation or bulletin board material. They're the homecoming team for the Washington Commanders. So this should be interesting. And I know it's just kind of playing off that. It's going to be a lot of Bills Mafia there too, guys, by the way. Bills Mafia is going to travel real well. It just so happens the Sabres, the hockey team, is opening their preseason on Sunday in Washington as well.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of interesting. So there's going to be a lot of Buffalo fans on and around the area.
Yeah, but it's Buffalo Washington Day here in
There you go.
here in DC. Buffalo wings for everybody. All right, Sal Capaccio, he is on the call on the sidelines for the Buffalo Bills radio network, 10 a.m. to noon on WGR, which you can listen to on the free Odyssey app. And of course, it's always game day in Buffalo. Fantastic Bills podcast, our sister podcast up there in the Odyssey Sports Network. Sal, this was a pleasure. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Can I ask you two quick
Thanks.
questions real quick? Two quick questions.
Sure.
Number one, Deron Payne, any issue with the ankle? He missed practice yesterday.
Yes, issue unclear of how that will resolve. Feels very similar to Floyd.
Ooh, okay. So that's something to monitor. We are getting tons of different reports on weather. I'm the sideline guy.
Yes.
What's going on with this system? Do you guys have any idea? Or we just
bring your poncho, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say bring the rain gear. Hope you don't have to use it. The latest forecast. We were actually just talking about this before the show, and we said like we should talk about this on the show. So here's your bonus material on the weather. That's sports. Now let's go to the weather. The current forecast is for most of it to hit on Saturday, and for it to peter out overnight into Sunday morning, and it to be dry by the time the game starts. But I don't think that's with the storm hitting directly. If we get direct hit, you could be getting it could be a slug, and I'd be worried about all your electrical equipment on the sideline there Sunday.
I'd be worried about Josh Allen throwing the ball, and people running, and Sam Howell throwing the ball. I mean, I like clean football, guys. Let's get after it. Let's have some clean football. That's what I like. So all right, I'll bring the poncho. I'll be ready for it.
Yeah, they've been asking Rivera all week, is this a measuring stick game? And it's like if we're measuring precipitation, that makes it a little hard to measure the football.
I mean, honestly, I would say was going to say it's better than measuring snow. It's actually not. I would rather play in snow than that kind of rain.
I don't know. Logan, you're actually the one who played. Snow or rain.
You know what I mean?
It's easier in snow, though. The ball stays dry. Like everyone thinks like the ball stays dry. The turf tends to be a little bit better. So offensively, it's way better if it's snow. So
Eric Wood says the same thing. Eric Wood says the same thing. He's our color analyst. Eric, and he says, he goes, it's actually like the ball, if they do their job, the referees, like you don't really have an issue when it's like that.
Yeah. But if it's monsooning, good luck. So
it's just super cold, and I imagine catching a cold rock from Josh Allen isn't super fun. All right, that's Sal Capaccio with the sports and the weather on Take Command. Thanks for watching this clip of Take Command. First, why don't you like it? It lets other people know that it was good, and then they should watch it too. And Logan, we have a new exclusive home for full episodes.
We do. 1067 The Fans YouTube page. Go check it out and please subscribe.
Yeah, do what Logan said.
Do it.
Very, very smart. Don't miss the Take Command pregame show either. That is each and every Sunday morning. That is 10 a.m. this particular Sunday morning. I should say every game day that is a Sunday. We are 3 hours before kick, and you can catch us this Sunday at 10 a.m. Starting at 11, you can come hang out and listen to the show in person. Tap Sports Bar, MGM National Harbor. And then about 90 minutes after the game, Logan and I will be live on YouTube for our post-game podcast. That's the Monday pod. It comes out first thing in the morning. But if you want to catch it, this is the one we let you in on live. So the post-game stream, post-game show, 90 minutes after the final whistle, roughly, give or take, here or there, on Sunday at the Team 980 at 1067 The Fan. And don't forget the pregame streams on YouTube as well. Okay. When we get back, we are scheduled to catch up with Lorenzo Alexander, assuming he had no travel issues or anything like that. We will proceed with that plan. So, Zoe, next here on the Team 980. They tell us we should not really engage in certain parts of the content process. We should definitely post our content. We should tease our content. Hey, tell the people when things are happening on the show. Put that out there on social media. Then make sure you share the content afterwards. But definitely do not engage with the people who comment on it. It's the deepest, darkest underbelly of the internet. No. Do not read the comments. But every single week, 5:30 on a Wednesday. What do we do, Anthony Haney?
We read
Yep.
those comments, baby.
I'm so glad that you gave us a really good one there because next week we're going to have a fancy new intro for this. We just got the big voice guy, old Jim Cutler, to do some stuff for us. And in my head, the fancy intro includes Anthony going, read those comments, and he just gave me the material I needed to work with. He didn't even know that. You didn't know that, Anthony. Tell the people you didn't know that.
I did not at all.
But next week, you bet your bottom dollar that you're going to see it. It's a running bit on the show, but also like an actual thing. I'm trying to learn French. My wife and I are going to Paris next year for the Olympics, so I'm trying to learn French. It's incredibly difficult. I'm very bad at it. Tips for someone learning French. You did the reverse. For people that don't know, you started as a French speaker, and I was reading on Wikipedia, so I don't know if this is true, but also Haitian Creole, first two languages, and then had to learn English, which I know is very, very difficult to learn when it's not your native language. French, English, they don't seem compatible. What's your tip for me as I try to learn French?
I would say watch movies in French with English subtitles. That's what I did. I watched a lot of movies in French, but I had the English. No, I watched a lot of movies in English with the French subtitles. So like movies, music, it's kind of something that's like easy, like on the brain. It's not too much information, but you can still enjoy it and you can see the conversation because that's the hardest part. Learning like a little word, like to say like, hey, my name is this or whatever, that's easy. But holding a conversation, that's the hardest part.
Yeah, right now I'm really just trying to master, like, I'm American, do you speak English? Because I think in Paris I can get away with that.
Yeah, so je suis américain, et je ne parle pas en français.
See, even the way you said that is not the way Duolingo says to say that. So I'll just have to come back to my new French tutor, Benjamin Sejus. BSJ, appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Sure.
It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Scheduled to catch up with Lorenzo Alexander here, but I know Zoe's traveling. I think he's traveling today, so there's always a chance that he said, "Hey, I'll call you, or we should be good at this time." And then that was the time he was supposed to land, and then there's a flight delay or something, and then we're SOL. So. Hopefully we'll be able to get Zoe for you. If not, I'll see him on Sunday. We'll try to get him on the show next week. So hopefully that is coming up shortly. Great friend of the show, great dude. But you can't do anything about travel and other things that come up in life. He's also got kids, so maybe who knows. Miles and Mason may just be running around causing havoc. His boys are they're wild men.
Are they? How old are they?
Let's see. How old are the boys now?
Some youngins.
They're probably like 10 and 8.
Okay.
Maybe they're like 12 and 10 though at this point. I don't know, man. What's time anymore? I'm trying to think the last time I saw them. I was at Zoe's house in Arizona, which, by the way, will make you want to move to Arizona so fast. His house is.
I've heard great things about Arizona.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there, unless it's the middle of summer and then it's hell because it's it's 111 degrees, but it's dry heat. When was I out there? Oh, it was when we did the YouTube video with him and Nick Simmons.
Yep.
So it was last February.
An NFOPA?
No, it was last February. It was like February 15th-ish of 2022. So the boys now are probably like 9 and 7. So, yeah, good luck chasing those two around.
I'm be flying, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. All right, so Sunday. Let me ask you questions that we asked the callers earlier in the show. What's at stake on Sunday? Like, if they win this game, what's the group chat look like?
I mean, people have already been talking, about the Commanders a little bit. But again, I think it just goes back to, what Ron and everybody else has been calling this week, a measuring stick game. And the last time we played the Bills, they also called it a measuring stick game back in 2021. I think we were 1-1 at that time, though, and we went out and got destroyed. So I'm thinking we got to go out, and put up a better fight, to be honest. Like I said yesterday, I think this is a very winnable game. Josh Allen, yes, he is very good. But at the same token, the defensive line, if we can, control the trenches and, have the same impact that we've been able to have the last two games, I'm expecting us to, make this a very interesting game. And it's supposed to be rainy, so I think that'll also maybe lean in our favor in terms of, the Bills not being able to, be pass happy and them more so having to depend on the run. But James Cook he's had a solid start to the season so far. So
he has. And Latavius Murray's been good. And Damian Harris, their 3 has been good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that 2021 game, man, that wasn't a measuring stick. That was a whooping stick.
Yeah, it got out. But going into the game, everybody's saying, oh, let's see how we stack up, against one of the AFC standards. So, again, I think we just got to, gritty it up, muddy it up a little bit, and like the caller said, go out there, give Josh Allen, rattle him a little bit, give him one tough hit, and let's see if they, going to punch back.
Yeah, I mean, to me, so first of all, to rewind to that 2021 game, you want to talk about a thorough butt kicking. It was 43-21.
Yep.
It was 27-14 at halftime. And then the Bills came out and won the third quarter 9-0. So there was just no drama to the game once you got into the second quarter. The Bills had 29 first downs to Washington's 13. They went 9 for 15 on third down. Washington went 2 of 11. They ran 77 total plays to Washington's 50 for 481 total yards. They both had 12 drives. In those 12 drives, Buffalo, 77 plays. Washington, 50. They had over 350 yards passing, over 120 yards rushing. Washington turned it over 3 times. Just everywhere you look on the stat sheet, thorough domination.
Yep.
Josh Allen was 32 of 43 for 358. Mitch Trubisky also 1 of 1 in that game for 1 yard.
Yeah, it got ugly. it got ugly real fast, and my man Taylor Heineke, he did what he could,
Yeah,
valiant effort.
14 of 24, 212, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Yeah,
not great. Gibson 12 carries in the game. Your second leading rusher, J.D. McKissick. Actually, 3 carries, 23. Heineke had 8 carries in that game. I don't know if Heineke had 8 carries all of last season. Anyway, that's a different story for a different time. Yeah, so and that's kind of been the theme for Washington, unfortunately, when they've had these games. I mean, there's a couple of other games in that 2021 season, a couple last year where, like, are they starting to catch a groove? Are they starting to play better? And every time you start to believe a little bit, you either have something like the Giants games where you lay duds and you just do not play well at all, or even if you play okay, it's just you're proving that you're not on the level, a la this game, this 2021 Bills game, when they played Mahomes the last time. Like, I think he threw 4 touchdowns, no picks for almost 400 yards kind of day, if I'm remembering correctly. Like, they have not been up to the elite of the elite since, I mean, the closest you'd say, they were the closest team to beat Tampa in 2020, or the closest team to play Tampa in 2020 in that playoff run.
Yep.
Where they win the Super Bowl. Like, what other games have they really answered the bell? I guess Philly last year, Monday Night Football, that counts.
Yeah.
Philly was undefeated. They were rolling. Pittsburgh, the year they were undefeated. Like, there's been a couple times, but especially when you play the Josh Allen, Mahomes, really those two, they have not been up to the task. And Hurts diced them up pretty good in the first game last year, even if they struggled a little bit more in the second.
Yeah.
So I think this is a chance to prove that, like, hey, we've matured as a football team to get to a significantly better place where, like, we take the field with these teams. And if they win, we're having a different discussion. If they compete, cool with me. Like, obviously that should not be their goal. Their goal should be to win.
Yeah.
But to me, if you want to prove the maturity and the resiliency that, to me, are the defining characteristics of this team, which I think could be enough to get them to the playoffs, you don't actually have to win this game. It would be tremendously helpful from a record standpoint. And at that point, you do start having the conversation of, like, is this team actually, like, good enough to contend? Is this team good enough to, fight with Dallas and Philly for the division and beat them in the playoffs or beat someone in the playoffs? Like, you start having those types of discussions. But at the end of the day, if you can at least prove to yourself, and, like, let's make this as big as possible. If you're Rivera and you can get your team to go toe-to-toe with Buffalo, and then Buffalo goes on to have the season that we anticipate them having, and Washington continues to play well, I think that's enough to go to Josh Harris and be like, hey, man, it took me a second. I know this is weird timing for you because you just got here, but we said it was a 3 to 5 year project. I'm in year 4, and look at us now. No one would have picked this path to get here, but, like, that is on some level what's at stake here. Because if they go and get their doors blown off, you're the same team that you were in 2021. Yeah, sure, you've got Sam Howell instead of Taylor Heineke, and I think this is a better roster than back then. But, like, what really has changed at that point?
Yeah. I think also just looking at, the game itself, if we are to go toe-to-toe with, the Bills, would you rather, our offense, be clicking, or would you rather it be an ugly game where it's like, a whole bunch of field goals where it's like 12-12 or like 15-12? It's like a defensive battle to an extent. Like, you're moving the ball, but you're not converting, like, down where, like, you need to convert. And the defense also is doing a solid job of, limiting this high octane offense and just holding them to, like, field goals. Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, how do you gauge going toe to toe, whether it's the offense leading or the defense, or it's just complementary football?
It's a good question. I'm pondering it in my head, and I'm going to answer it after the break. Rush high.
Yeah.
There's sometimes he gets kind of buried inside, and there's alleys to the outside. But I think what's cool is you see as the game goes, I feel like it happened a little bit less, or like, he does it on one snap, and the very next snap he is super tight. He's super on the screws. I also think as the game goes, you see him and Allen playing with each other a little bit more. The way that they're able to do some stunts, some twists, some games up front, or just John realizes that, like, I got to pay a little bit more attention to what Chase is doing and then cover for him if he's going to do stuff. And I don't know which one of those it is, but I feel like he got better as the game went.
Sure.
And you see the high upside stuff that makes him super special. And if they can keep tightening the screws, then it's just going to get better and better as the year goes. And then, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple rushes where I was like, man, that could be better. And there was one. So, for example, on the fumble, on Jamin's fumble, like, he goes violent inside rush. And I was like, I wonder, like, that's poor rushing integrity, right? Because, obviously Russell Wilson's going to escape and scramble for a first down. But I do remember in the game plan show that I did with Coach Ron Rivera, I said, how do you kind of manage, like, a rusher's creativity? Because, they're basically artists, you know what I mean? Like they're going to, like, the creative rushers are the best rushers. The ones that rush outside of structure are the best because they can kind of do whatever, and it puts the offensive line in a bind. And he said, well, I think one of the things Jack has done a good job of is identifying packages where they can be Rembrandt, where they can go do what they want to do. And
did Ron really say Rembrandt?
No, I said Rembrandt. I'm churching up a little bit for Ron's sake. Anyway, but in that look, Jamin is spying Russell. And so if you're going to be Rembrandt in a situation, it's that situation. And then, so great inside move, vacates the pocket, and Jamin is really fast. Like, he is very, very fast. Like, holy cow, watching him to run that down was so impressive. And
so this is a point I made yesterday, but I want to make it here too.
Yeah.
This is the difference between a first-round pick and, like, a third-round, fourth-round guy at linebacker is, let's just make it David Mayo. David Mayo could also spy Russell Wilson.
Yes.
But he probably runs him out of bounds, and it's probably a 2-3 yard game. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, Anthony and I make our picks. Also, Anthony, to answer your question, I want to see the defense play well this weekend. I'm gonna pay off the tease, but then we're gonna audible because we have indeed been able to get in touch with our guy Lorenzo Alexander, who joins us now on the hotline. Zo, what's up, man?
Hey, Craig, how you been, brother? Everything going well?
Things are good. Things are very good around here, as I'm sure from a football sense you've quite picked up on, even though you're out in Arizona. I know you obviously are always paying attention. And this is the Lorenzo Bowl this weekend. This is Bills Commanders. Do you feel a little weird going to Bills Commanders as like a Washington legend? You not being able to stay neutral this weekend,
Yeah, I guess it's a little different, right? This is where I kind of came into the league and kind of, carved off my niche as far as being able to play in the NFL for so long. But then Buffalo is kind of where I ended my career and had probably some of my best years from a defensive perspective. And I know a lot of those guys still playing. I was just talking to somebody, like, I don't think I know anybody that I play with that is still playing right now, other than Logan Thomas, who I played with in Arizona when he was a quarterback.
I was going to say, would it be Tress? Tress is the only guy.
No, I missed Tress.
You missed Tress.
I didn't have Tress. I think he came in maybe the year or two after I left. That just shows you how old I am and how long it's been since I played here. Right. But, I'm glad. I always love coming back to the DMV. I got so many friends and family and people that really helped me in this league. And so I'm excited to be at the game. Saw a ton of guys today because it is Legends Weekend. Saw Clinton, Anthony Armstrong, Lee Torrance, Chris Neal, just a ton of dudes that I hadn't seen in so many years. So it's just cool to be back and looking forward to a good game.
Lorenzo Alexander, former Pro Bowl MVP, played well over a dozen years in the NFL with us here on the Hoffman Show. So let's talk quick about kind of the larger context, and I'd love to talk to you about the game a little bit. But you think about like having 175 alums coming back, and you watch that week 1 game, a sellout for the first time really since you left. They haven't had a sellout here in that long. And you see FedEx rocking on TV. Like, what's it mean to you as an alum, someone who did make your mark in this organization, in this community, to see the team, fulfilling the kind of the promise that it's always had with new ownership finally here?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, this is a historic organization in the Commanders, and obviously they have a ton of history of winning. And it is, refreshing to see this organization and really this community galvanized around the new direction of the new ownership. And, obviously anytime that you're tied with a guy like Magic Johnson and all that he means to just the world of sports, just in general, and what he's been able to do after the game, it's just really cool and exciting to be around. And so I'm excited for where they're headed. I think a lot of the non-football stuff that I think people see in the direction going, I think you need that to create a consistency of winning that I think will eventually translate onto the football field as far as being a perennial playoff team. Because at the end of the day, it's all about culture. I know people want to talk about talent, but that's just a small piece of it. When you've got culture and people doing the right things throughout the organization and building, those are special places because people and people that are talented want to be there and stay there. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. And I think the organization's off to a great start, obviously. Having 2 big wins. I got a chance to see that first game against the Arizona Cardinals. I covered the Cardinals out there in Phoenix. And so I'm excited for what this team has and where they're building to and what they can accomplish this season.
You were a guy that was definitely a culture builder, a culture setter during your career as part of the reason they brought you to Buffalo. Then they're like, holy crap, we have one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. This is cool. Why didn't they use him like that in Washington? Anyway, but when you think about culture for an organization, how much does ownership matter?
Everything starts at the top, right? That they are the trendsetter and are going to keep everybody accountable and make it sustainable. Because anybody underneath them doesn't necessarily have the same type of leverage or power to get things going, right? If any time a owner has a different vision than the GM or head coach or any of the administration, I mean, they can fire them or, overrule them. So it has to start at the top and then trickle down and be replicated by those that individual decides to hire and bring in to the organization, right? And it goes all the way down to the last man on the roster and also the people that are in the sales department and marketing. It takes a whole organization to win this league because it's that hard. And so I'm excited to see what it grows into, what it becomes, and how they establish it year in and year out, because it is something that you have to be intentional about and committed to, because it just doesn't happen, right? You got all these different individuals that have different perspectives about how going about accomplishing something, but you got to consistently remind them the goal, the mission, and how we've decided as an organization to achieve those things. And so when you have right leadership and the right people running the show, it's possible. It's hard, but you can see, like when you look at like Pittsburgh and Mike T and what that ownership and the Rooneys have done, right, year in and year out. He hasn't had a losing year, and it's a reason for it. It's because of the culture that they established and the attention that he puts on it, as far as how the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to play football, who they're going to be off the field, that then makes them much better for it when they're out there competing on the field.
Obviously, good players help tremendously as well, especially when they're good leaders as well. When you watch this Washington D-line and these 4 first-rounders, obviously the Arizona game, they had the 3 of them out there. Chase makes his return last week. What have you seen from this group, and how good do you think they can be? And how can they continue to grow beyond what they even are right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're very dynamic, and we've known this about the D-line for the last, 3 or 4 years, is how they get after people, the multitude of bodies and people they can throw at you from a pass rush standpoint. I think one of the biggest things that they want to continue to do to get better, especially if they want to win this weekend, is playing the run, right, and making Josh and them play behind the sticks and have to earn the right to stay on the field. James Cook has done a good job, along with Harris in this offensive line, as far as being able to run the ball effectively, efficiently, and really keep people off balance, especially if we look at that second game against the Raiders. And so that's where they're going to win it, because we know they can pass rush. And if you can get the Buffalo Bills kind of behind the sticks, they really struggled the first week when they faced an elite defense in the Jets. So I think that's really going to be the telltale sign this week, is how this defensive line and obviously the front seven and the linebackers are able to stop the run and force Josh to maybe do something that he necessarily doesn't want to do, and maybe play hero ball a little bit.
Lorenzo Alexander with us here on the Hoffman Show. You know Josh real well. You were his teammate, but you've watched him from afar evolve, even in the couple years since you stepped away from the game. Like, what is the best way to get him off kilter, uncomfortable, and making the kind of head-scratching plays that are beneficial for a defense, not the head-scratching plays that just leave us all wondering, how did he do that amazing thing?
Right. Well, I mean, the big thing is just playing cover two, right? Playing top down, stopping the run, making him take what the defense gives him, and as far as nickel and diming. And most people aren't patient enough, and Josh at times forgets that, hey, man, I got playmakers that can catch the ball and go the distance. And I think that's somewhat of what the Jets did. And I think also, obviously, being week one and versus Aaron Rodgers, Monday Night Football, all those things going through his mind as well kind of forced him into some bad situations. But that's typically what defenses have done, right? Because they like the big shots. They like the big plays, like what offense doesn't. And so if they can just play good sound football, right, make him nickel and dime you down the field and hopefully hit him a couple of times and get him flustered, that's really the only way I've ever seen people beat him. And then obviously the offense has to put up some points as well, right, where they feel like, oh, we need this shot in order to get back in the game, or we need this shot to put this team away because they're hanging around. You have to kind of create that uneasiness, which has gotten harder for teams to do with inside Josh Allen.
Which brings us to the Commanders' offense. When you've watched Sam Howell, what have you seen from the young kid that has been impressive? And if you're on that Buffalo defense and you're game planning against him, where do you think you can get him?
I think the biggest thing is just him continue to grow, which I really liked. I watched that first game against the Cardinals, and the Arizona Cardinals secondary were letting a lot of people run free. And Sam Howell wasn't able to identify it and hit those guys up. And then last week, taking the next step, right, and making some pretty big plays and explosive plays. And I think that's the difference, right? When the defense makes a mistake, you have to identify it and take advantage of it. And I think with the more experience you get, you start seeing those things, not being on like a limited rep count so far, playing what is his third or fourth game.
Yeah.
Sometimes the game is still moving a little bit faster, but the more reps you get underneath it, the more ability you're able to go back and actually watch game film and study yourself and study the opponents. You can then see the game starts to slow down, and instead of maybe getting off the ball or off that receiver quicker than you want to, you have the patience and the resolve and the trust of your guys around you to, okay, now he's open, let me hit him. And that's what he has to continue to do. Continue to develop, continue to grow, right? Obviously limit the turnovers and allow his playmakers to make plays. And so I'm excited for him. A young quarterback with EB, I think is only going to help him grow with all that, Bieniemy has been around and can give to him and help him develop as a young quarterback in this league.
All right, last one I want to ask you is about one of your former teammates, because I've asked a lot of people, including Bieniemy, about Matt Milano this week, but none of them have played with him. You did.
Right.
What's it like playing with that dude behind you, and just what does he do that is different than so many other linebackers? Basically, everyone not named Fred Warner, it seems like, in the NFL.
Right. Matty Ice is what I call him. That's I like to walk around as a retired player now. That's my claim to fame because he's my pup. I had him as a rookie in Buffalo and felt like I had a little bit of an impact and helped train him up in this league, so I can kind of pound my chest when he's out there making plays and bossing folks and just doing what he does, all-pro linebacker. Matty is so athletic. He has a safety background, has put on weight since he came in the league, and so he's really a great combination and blend of power and speed, very intelligent. And what probably his coolest thing is about him, he doesn't get rattled. So you can beat him, right? We've seen him get beat. Kelsey, big-time plays, and he comes right back and makes plays. And so it's really cool to see how he's matured in this league, become a leader, And that's why I call him Matty Ice, because it's like, man, I can't even, messing with him as a rookie, he would never respond. I could never get him uneasy. And I think that's really his superpower in his league, because you are going to get beat, but he responds really well. Obviously, he performs at a high level and wins his one-on-one matchups, and he loses. And so that's a guy that you definitely got to star every single week and make sure you know where he's at, because he blitzes, plays the run great, and then can shut down most, tight ends, and even can cover some receivers as well.
That actually, the personality tracks with what our guy Sal Capaccio told me this week.
Yep.
Sal was like, he's a minimalist. He like doesn't buy anything. Like if we went over to his house, he'd have like a bed, and that'd be like just be like one of those beds that's sitting in the middle of a room, doesn't have anything. Like, is there actually more to him, and he just hides it, or is that actually who he is? He just has nothing.
Yeah, once you get underneath him a little bit, he opens up. He has a little bit more to him. He's also not married yet either, so he can be a minimalist until he gets locked down, and he won't. I guarantee you, he won't be a minimalist any longer. But yeah, that's who he is. He's true to who he is. He's always been that way, and even after he signed his deal, he's never really changed that. So it's just really cool to see him thriving. As a young guy, I think it was a 6th-round pick, and now is considered one of the elite linebackers, and really the standard is how you play this game at a high level in today's game.
I feel like he and Logan would get along great.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Paulsen still drives a car that might be as old as I am. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, you made NFL money. I know you didn't sign like any monster deals, but you can get – you don't need to drive like something – I don't know. I feel like it's a 1990-something Ford Ranger. What are we doing?
And that's what most guys are. I mean, most guys grew up blue collar, and they understand who they are and don't have to flaunt it. They're comfortable in their own skin, and that's the real NFL. I play with a ton of guys, and everything that you necessarily see on TV is in reality and are the truth as far as us as a group of men. And it's really cool to know guys like Logan and Matt Milano. I'm actually over here right now with Derek Dockery and his family too. So guys like that are just humble, low-key, just blue-collar dudes that love their families but had the opportunity to play ball and did it at a high level.
No doubt. So hopefully I'll run into you this weekend. Hopefully we can link up. And thanks for coming on the show, and enjoy being around so many of your former teammates and everybody else this weekend.
Oh, for sure, man. Anytime, bro. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. That is Lorenzo Alexander with us here on the Hoffman Show. Just an A+ dude all around. Everything you ever heard about the man, 100% true. And appreciate his time always, and that he's willing to spend it with us here on the show. When we get back, Haney, you ready?
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Just making sure you're ready, because I'm ready.
Okay. Well, then we're going to pick some games.
Yep.
That's next.
I tried to warn you, bro. It is a mess in downtown Nashville. Every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Not even
we moved hotels the next night. I still am waiting on my refund for that. But yeah, we moved hotels the second night.
Wow.
It was fun. You say they rely on them. We went to brunch with my buddy the next day, who is a Nashville native and has lived in Nashville long enough that he remembers when it was more than just the bachelorette capital of the world. And he's like, yeah, we're pretty much on the woo girl economy.
Yeah, that's precisely what's going on. The downtown businesses cater to that. If you try to get it shut down, you're probably the one getting thrown out. It is what it is right now. It's weird, but Nashville, baby. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So I will add one more small part to this story, and this is the part, frankly, that I've been waiting to tell you all week as well. That was kind of part one. We got quality Yates reaction. Part two, as we leave the hotel the next morning to go to breakfast. Remember, the wall's very thin. So it's not going where you think it's going. But as we walk down the hallway, my dear sweet wife just starts saying in a slightly elevated volume of voice, it's been proven that the later groups stay out and make noise and all this stuff at their bachelorette weekend, the higher the divorce rate in the wedding. Also the better chances. Basically. And also the better chances.
Wow. Okay. Okie dokie. So Rachel was pissed, basically.
Yeah, she doesn't have a lot of tolerance for the Woo girls. They say on the internet, like, feel free to post stuff, like your friends' photos, do whatever. But like whatever you do for your own well-being, don't read the comments. Comment section, bad idea. What do we do?
We read those comments, baby.
That is exactly what we do. That was a little bit better. I still feel like that one was a little muted. I think sometimes it feels like you build yourself up a little too much, and then sometimes you don't
I ain't
quite
want to
go
go
for it.
screaming all the way. The thing is, though, my mic is a little lower than yours, so maybe I could have actually, did what I really.
Mike also moves. You can go, ooh. Did you know you could play tricks with a microphone?
I think I'll try that next time.
Okay. You want to give it another shot?
We read those comments, baby.
There we go. All right. I feel ready now. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Anthony Haney there, if you're watching on YouTube at the Team 980. You now see him all lit up and purdy. Was your light really not on the entire first hour and a half?
Nah, it's been on, but then it just went off. And then I had to plug it in. And then it's flickered.
Back. Oh, now it's doing the flicker
bit. And then went out. And now it's back. And now I'm watching it.
You got your eyes on it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That was a lot. I'm mad at myself for interrupting you because that should have been a monologue. That's on me. It's a bad job by me.
It's all good, brother, man.
I should have just let Haney cook, as they say. All right. Hope you don't cook too hot with these picks because I'm down. Anthony, I say let's hit the music and let's get going. Week 3 in the NFL. We got a full slate of games. We do not have a full slate of quarterbacks. We'll get to that as we go. We are both correct on 49ers Giants last night. Niners, let's just say they rewarded my decision not to watch this game. A thorough butt kicking starting in the second quarter where they outscored the Giants 14-3. They took a 17-6 lead into half, came out of the game with a 30-12 victory. Brock Purdy, all I saw on Twitter, Anthony, as I was periodically on that hellscape of a website and mobile application, was people saying how much Brock Purdy sucked last night. He had 310 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't know how people would deduce that he sucked from the shellacking the 49ers put him in the Giants yesterday. He didn't really have to do too much.
No, he doesn't. But that's the thing, is like he does the things he's supposed to do.
Yep.
Yeah, there were some drives in that game apparently where he wasn't very good, but there was one drive in particular that all the football people were just like laughing hysterically because it was like he is doing this wrong and that wrong and this wrong and that wrong and this wrong and that wrong, and they scored a touchdown. And that was I think their first touchdown drive of the second quarter. Purdy ultimately 310, 2 touchdowns. McCaffrey 18 carries, 85 yards, a touchdown. Deebo Samuel, monster day. Tackling him is very hard. 6 catches, 129 yards, and a touchdown. And most importantly, for our purposes, a win for me, a win for Anthony to start the week 1-0, which puts our records at
1-0.
Thanks, Anthony. I meant total.
Our total records are 19-13 and 22-10.
Okay. Wow, that was spectacular. I love it.
I crack myself up sometimes, Greg.
Sometimes you're the only one. All right, Titans and Browns gets our Sunday slate started. Cleveland, 3.5-point favorites at home over Tennessee. They are now without Nick Chubb. Of course, Deshaun Watson has played terribly. Tennessee, they've played okay, but ultimately 1-1 on the year. I am picking them because I will never pick the Browns as long as their current quarterback is their quarterback, but also I genuinely think they're going to win the game.
I haven't given this one too much thought. It's an ugly game.
It is. I have no desire to watch 1 second of this.
Yeah, I don't think I will either. But I think I'm going to lean the Browns. I still think their defense is really good. Yes, you lose Nick Chubb. Now it's time for D-Watt to go out there and show everybody why he was guaranteed $253 million.
The reason this is the problem for the Browns. The reason he was guaranteed $253 million is because the Browns are very stupid.
Yeah, that too.
Not that he wasn't good in Houston, putting all the other stuff aside. It's like he hadn't played and he fundamentally changed because he was away from football because he did terrible stuff and had to deal with the repercussions of that. Mm-hmm. And so he has not been the same in any capacity as a football player since he's come back. He has shown no signs that that is going to be the case. And good, that's what the Browns deserve on a moral level. But also when it comes to now, you do not have Nick Chubb. Amari Cooper has been in and out of the lineup, mostly banged up already this year. And I truly don't see the Browns against a pretty solid Tennessee defense that is also going to ball control, do the Derrick Henry thing, shorten the game. I don't see them scoring 20 points. I think Tennessee can get there. I'm going to pick the Titans. But, it's going to be a low-scoring, ugly game, and I won't be surprised if Cleveland wins for sure. Falcons and Lions. What a styles make fights kind of fight this is going to be. The Lions, high-flying offense who are just paltry putrid on defense. If they give up another 25-plus and lose, you've got to think this could be Aaron Glenn, the Lions defensive coordinator's last game. I don't know. I've been following stories from Detroit. I'm just doing the math there. Falcons, meanwhile, 2-0. Detroit, just a 3-point favorite in this one at home. So basically getting 3 points for being at home. Can Bijan and company go into Detroit, Anthony, and pull off the slight upset?
I think the Falcons remain undefeated, Craig.
Wow.
I think this run game is going to be something serious. I don't think that the Lions can stop a nosebleed when it comes to, running the ball. So I think, again, as you alluded to, styles make fights. I don't think this one of those matchups. I don't think the Lions will have an answer for the Falcons run game. So 3-0, here they come.
I see this one the other way. Okay. I see Detroit, yes, the Falcons will probably be able to put up some decent running stats. But can Desmond Ridder make enough plays? I don't think so. I think Detroit is going to score 28 points at least. Can Atlanta win a game that's that high scoring? I would bet not. I also think the Lions, you start playing the averages, the Lions a 2-1 team? I think so. Are the Falcons a 3-0 team? I don't think so. But I think just the style of the game, I think Detroit can put their imprint on this better than Atlanta can. Because I just think they're better. And so I'm going to go Detroit. But again, it's going to be interesting. Styles make fights. Whoever imposes their style, they're the one that's going to win.
It's going to be an interesting week, Craig. So far, 2 games in, and we have already disagreed.
And I have no idea what I want to do with this next one. Saints and Packers.
Ugly one.
in Green Bay. I actually low-key love this game. The Saints 2-0 after barely beating Carolina on Monday Night Football. Packers, an incredibly disappointing loss where they led almost the entire game and then had a game-winning field goal kicked against them by Younghoe Koo in the final moments to make Atlanta, who we just talked about, 2-0. Packers are just 1-point favorites at home. They're, who knows what to make of Jordan Love. We know that the Saints' defense is pretty good. I have no idea what their offense is. Their running back situation's a mess. Taysom Hill is their leading rusher on the year so far with a whopping 79 yards on 12 carries. And Kamara is not back for another couple of weeks off suspension. So I guess it's my turn to pick first. I'm going to go Green Bay at home, and I feel terrible about it.
Yeah, you pointed out a lot of injuries between these two teams. Green Bay is getting back Christian Watson. Don't know if Aaron Jones will be back. I think he's the guy that, really gets that offense going. I'm thinking he's going to play. I'm going to go Green Bay. Paulsen Adebo is also out for the Saints. Yeah, I don't know. I don't love the pick. I still think the Saints are, who they are, but I think I'm going to go Green Bay. Go Pack, go.
All right. So we're finally on the board together.
Yeah.
Hoffman, Haney, Team Pack on this one. Broncos 0-2, Dolphins 2-0. This game is in Miami. The only real question is Jalen Waddle. Will he play concussion protocol? Did you see a final ruling on that, by the way, Anthony?
I didn't know he was in concussion protocol.
He has been in concussion protocol all week, sir.
Wow.
Injuries. Let's see. Jalen Waddle, questionable. Limited participant in practice Friday, which is a good sign that he's doing something. If we knew 100% he was playing, this would definitely be a 1-2-3.
Yes, sir.
Move on. Is it still anyway?
I think so.
1-2-3. Dolphins. Okay. Chargers and Vikings. Who would have thunk that when the season began, the Chargers and the Vikings would come into this Week 3 battle 0-2 apiece. Justin Jefferson is still having a monster year. 20 receptions, 309 yards through 2 games. They absolutely have shot themselves in the foot these last couple of weeks. If they can just curb the turnovers, I think they'll be all right. Although there already are rumors coming out of Minnesota. I don't know how much credence I want to give these. I saw them on Twitter, but it is what it is. That there's thoughts that if they were to lose, then there's a lot of sniffing around Kirk Cousins. He's got an expiring contract. Would another team that's had an injury problem potentially want to go? Obviously, a lot of these rumors are probably being started by Jets people. But would they want to go trade for him? And then you just embrace the tank this year and you go get Caleb Williams next year. There is, could you imagine Caleb Williams and Justin Jefferson?
Oh my gosh.
I think that is an intriguing idea.
And he reunites with Addison.
Right.
They play together.
Right. So it is an intriguing idea, but so is being good. And I still think being good is on the table for Minnesota. For the Chargers, same thing. They're 0-2. Obviously, they've got their young quarterback who they just paid a boatload of money. They're without Austin Eckler again. I don't know what to do with these teams. I'm just going to go down. For all I know, the ship is already at the bottom of the sea, and I'm still holding on to it going, hey, I think Minnesota is going to be all right. And they're like, you can't say you're going down with the ship if the ship is already sunk, you bozo.
Yep.
But I'm going to go down with the ship. It's a Viking ship. I got Minnesota.
Dang, I was hoping you were going to choose the Chargers. With no Austin Eckler, they have no run game, and you cannot pass the ball the entire. You could.
Maybe against Minnesota you can.
They play so much zone defense though. I don't know. I think I'm gonna lean Vikings here as well. I think they get their first W of the year, and big game for Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, the Chargers defense is not exactly
Khalil Mack.
Spicy. He's got no pass rush wins on the year.
None. Since I graduated, since 2018, barely heard anything of Khalil Mack.
Yeah,
it's crazy, and they paid him a ton of money.
Yeah, I saw a tweet from earlier today. One of the national NFL writers who was Tom Telesco, who's the GM in LA. They go, Tom Telesco signs players and acts like he hasn't watched football since 2019. Which is kind of hilarious because their receivers are the same dudes that I covered on the Commanders or the Washington LA game in 2019 when they were playing in the soccer stadium before SoFi was open. Like it was Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, and you're like, okay, what kind of challenge do those guys present today? Obviously now they have Herbert, which is a bit of a different story. But Eckler, like they've got a ton of continuity on that roster, and they're always kind of good, but they're a bit of the definition of insanity if they keep trying to do the same thing with a different result, just hoping that Justin Herbert's going to get better and elevate them, and not working great.
No.
Patriots and Jets. You also have to wonder if Brandon Staley is on the hot seat. I mean, you don't have to wonder. He is on the hot seat. What can the loss mean? We'll see. Patriots 0-2. Yikes. At the Jets, 1-1. Their quarterback is Zach Wilson. Yikes. I'm going to take the Patriots on the road here. Bill Belichick versus Zach Wilson. Give me Bill Belichick. Also, did you see old Hoodie's press conference today, Anthony?
I did not.
10 questions, or maybe it was 11. He answered it in less than 100 words total.
How?
Very short, quick answers.
Just like that. How? Yes.
But it
No.
wasn't like,
Why?
yes, no. It was like, he'll be ready for the game. Yeah, he's dangerous.
Straight to the point.
We like him a lot. He plays that position.
Wow.
You'll see him out there. It was like that the entire press conference. Remarkable. Even by Belichick standards.
I'm taking the Patriots.
That was
like
not
that.
a lot of words. I just wanted to get out. I had to get home and watch more tape. Just kidding. I don't go home. I just sleep in my office in the same hoodie. No sleeves. Actually, I wear sleeves to sleep. It's my sleeping hoodie. End of Belichick impression.
Yes.
All right, you got the Pats too?
I'm going to go with the Patriots, but I will not be shocked if this is a close game. I think the Jets going to lean on their run game.
I agree. All right, Jacksonville and Houston. Jags 8-point favorites. See if CJ Stroud and company can get their first win. Stroud averaging over 300 yards a game thanks to the monster game he had last week yardage-wise. Or was that week one? He had a monster one of those weeks. I mean, he's averaging over 300, so been good both.
He had 300 last week.
But Jacksonville, 1-1. Obviously, the loss last week to the Chiefs. Their offense looked super out of sync after looking real good week one. I will take the Jags at home here. I don't know if they'll take them to cover the 8, but straight up, give me Jacksonville.
I'm going with the Jags as well. I thought this was a 1-2-3 for me.
Yeah, I thought about it.
Yeah.
Which really, I mean, the Texans, man, you traded
really-
away. I hope they're really enjoying CJ. And Will Anderson's had a good start, so
Yeah.
maybe it was worth it. But they're going to be real bad, and then their pick's going to go to Arizona.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
That does suck.
Yeah, unless you're Arizona. Colts and Ravens. Lamar Jackson and company survived last week. He'll be chased around by this fine gentleman named Zaire Franklin. Unfortunately, the quarterback on the other side of the ball not going to play, QB1, that is, Anthony Richardson, out with a concussion. The rookie missing his what would be his third career game after sustaining a concussion, scoring his second touchdown in his second. Based off the line, Anthony, this might be a 1-2-3 situation. Baltimore -8. They are 8-point favorites, the same as the last game. But do you believe your boys can pull the upset here?
Mr. Craig Hoffman?
Yes.
I'm not a firm believer in Gardner Minshew, so I'm taking the Ravens this week.
Yeah.
I don't pick against the Colts too often, but I think they're going to get after Gardner. And they are.
Yeah.
If this was AR, I'm going with the Colts wholeheartedly.
So here's the thing. The Ravens are actually without a bunch of dudes.
Yep.
I'm kind of surprised it's 8. And, you know, Minshew, at this point in his career, like Minshew versus Richardson is probably not that big of a difference by week 7. Like, obviously, Richardson, you think is going to be significantly better, and, you know, presuming that he's healthy, and then the trajectory from there. But, like, hey, in this isolated moment in time, I don't know that it's that much different. Again, like if Jonathan Taylor is playing, like I might even pick Indy because Baltimore is missing Odell Beckham. Obviously, they're missing J.K. Dobbins, but their other running back is also out. They're missing like 2 of their top 3 backs, their most experienced wide receiver. They still got some injuries on defense. There's a ton of dudes out, but they still got Lamar. and that's good enough for me. I am taking Baltimore. Panthers and Seahawks. Unfortunately, another rookie quarterback out. Bryce Young missing this week. He has an ankle injury that he sustained Monday night against the Saints. Geno Smith and company, 5.5-point favorites at home, Mr. Haney.
I'm going to go with the Seahawks. Again, they got to continue build off the momentum from last week, you know. Again, also Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan of the Panthers' offensive unit. They're
it's not good
at all. So I think
they got the number 1 pick because they traded for it, but they were the number 9 pick.
Yeah,
not good. Yeah. Not good. It's almost like handing over your program to Matt Rule wasn't the best idea. Bears and Chiefs. 1, 2, 3. Chiefs. How about them? Chiefs. The Bears, by the way, just the worst week ever. Not on top of all the other craziness that's happened with their defensive coordinator and Justin Fields' comments and the backlash of that and whatever. They had $100,000 worth of equipment stolen from Soldier Field. A bunch of expensive lawnmowers. Broke a gate, busted it down, took it. Just a terrible week for the Bears.
It's been a lot of theft in Chicago.
Yeah, not great. Cowboys and Cardinals. 1, 2, 3.
Cowboys.
How
about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys? Steelers and Raiders. Vegas, 2.5-point favorites at home. That makes no sense because the Steelers are real good at, not giving away easy games. The Raiders, I don't know what the hell they are. They beat the Broncos. That's nice. They're at home. That's nice. I don't know. I got bad vibes off the Raiders, man. I don't know whether it's Josh McDaniel or what. I like Garoppolo. I like Devontae. Josh Jacobs is real good. I'm going to pick the Steelers, and I don't really have good football reasons why.
I mean, I think the Steelers' defense is definitely going to stand up.
Yeah, I mean, T.J. Watt, that's a football reason.
But their offense stinks. Kenny Pickett, Najee Harris hasn't done much.
He got 16 for 74 on the year through 2 games.
Hasn't done
2 touchdowns, 3 picks.
And then I love Pickens, but, he had 4 receptions, 1-on-1 for 71 yards. It's just the offense. Matt Canada, that offense is so bad.
His time has got to be running out there.
Dude.
It's awful what they're doing. And people are paying attention, and that's when it changes.
Yeah, I don't know what they see in him. But to give my pick, I'm going to go with the Steelers, too. I think the defense rises to the occasion.
I do, too. All right, Eagles and Bucks, game 1 of Monday Night Football. This one, 2-0 teams.
Yes, sir.
But not built the same. Give me Philly.
I'm going with my Super Bowl winner.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia.
And then Rams-Bengals.
Ooh, what you going to do, Craig?
I'm going to pick the team with the better quarterback that's going to play. That would be the Rams.
Burrow's not playing?
Jamar Chase seemed to intimate in his comments to the media today that Burrow is unlikely to play on Monday night. Do we want to save our official picks for this Monday to see if we get a game status on Burrow? Or do you want to just
I'm choosing the Rams regardless. This is up to you, Craig. This is up to you.
I feel okay with where we're at with the Rams.
Okay.
If Burrow all of a sudden is playing,
We'll
I'd probably
revisit it.
pick the Bengals.
Okay.
But let's write down Rams for now and revisit where we're at on Monday because we can do that because we've got a show on Monday. So them's the picks, them's the analysis, and then when we get back, we'll get back to the game that we didn't mention there, which is Commanders and Bills. Our pick 6 coming up next here on the Hoffman Show. Success about his children's book, which is something that I don't think I've ever gotten to say about a guest before. But if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it over his right shoulder there. By the way, aren't you glad I said right shoulder? Because if you're on camera and trying to figure out when they flip the things, and I never know which way to point. I tried to fix my hat the other day and I turned it the wrong way.
So the fact that you think that your verbal cue of right actually helped me out. I would be the worst. This is legitimately the first time I've actually gotten the point right over the shoulder. I would be the world's worst, and it's not even close, weather person. The green screen thing, man, to me is not my friend. So this was just dumb luck that I pointed in the right direction. And if you make reference to it again, there is a chance that I actually go the wrong way. So
okay, it seems like a lovely newspaper article over there. It's just not what you wrote for children. When you're a beat reporter, like Ken confirmed, you get a lot of requests to do stuff, and you just hope that they don't suck. And most of the time, they're actually pretty fun, especially like the radio stuff. Sometimes you get on a podcast and you go, yeah, this is a wacky bit, but whatever. It's fine. But I try to say yes to as many things as I can. I don't know if you saw, there's a whole dialogue on the internet yesterday because Kyle Brandt went on Good Morning Football and whined about doing too many podcasts.
Oh, wow.
Because they did like a fun question of like, what's your dream podcast to be a guest on? And everyone's like, you know, oh, this pod, like obviously people, I'm guessing we're saying like the Kelsey Brothers podcast and, you know, all the some of the big NFL ones. And he was like, none. I'm not going to lie. Like I'm overdoing podcasts. Like, and he was like, there was a tinge of self-awareness. He's like, look, I used to be a guy with the podcast, like, but I can't. You get on there, and then they want you on camera, and they want you to fix the light. And I'm like, you know, if you just set up at a desk like a professional, then you don't have to fix that stuff. Like people are always stunned when I get on to do their podcast, and I'm sitting right here. Like, what am I gonna do? Go sit in a lazy boy on the roof?
Stand outside with your phone like this.
Yeah, just selfie mode, mailing it in. No, like I committed to doing your show. You were nice enough to ask me on. So, and it's also convenient for me because I sit in my desk and I'm comfortable and I have my headphones and my microphone and I'm set up and I'm good to go. It is what it is. If my setup looks better than yours, then that's your problem.
Really straightforward, man.
Yeah, it's just not that hard. So, but he was whining about it. And I'm like, if you were a guy with a podcast once and you made it to TV, then maybe you should be nice enough because also this industry is cruel and you're going to be a guy with a podcast again in a couple years. And you know what everyone's going to do? Show you this clip of you whining on TV about podcast guests. It's the Hoffman Show. We are on the Team 980. We are live as well on the free Odyssey app. 25 minutes from right now, our pal Damon Amendolara stops by for his Friday visit to wrap up our show. Well, mostly wrap up the show. If you learned nothing yesterday, it's because you missed the end of the show, which is you should always stick around to the end of the show. We had an all-time Real Things Real People Said into real microphones yesterday, Anthony.
We did indeed.
We haven't cut the scream yet, have we?
No, we have not.
Okay, just don't let me forget that on Monday.
Gotcha.
That is essential behavior. Because honestly, like we could probably use it, like to describe the weather situation. We're out there in the wind, just blowing, and then you'd hit the drop. Which I thought you had ready.
Oh, I was trying to get it out.
I could see you. I could see you trying to get it up, get that drop ready. And I was like, I think he's got it. He's got a face of confidence that says that he's ready. But instead, I was left flailing. Luckily, if you missed it, we put up a YouTube short with it. There's a part 1. There's a part 2 coming. I'm going to put it on my Instagram as well, on my reels, at Craig_Hoffman as well. If I ever say, put it on my Instagram like I'm 100 years old again, Anthony, you just banned me from ever talking to a microphone again. I'm going to put it on Instagram later as a reel. Wow, I sounded so old. All right, time to hit a different button. It's time for Pick 6.
The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
I'm going to be their biggest and harshest critic, but I'm also their #1 fan.
All right, here's how we do this on Fridays. We pick 6 players that we think are going to have the biggest impact on the game. And then on Monday, we see how those players did. Anthony and I have decided we're going to split this duty. He's got 3. I've got 3. I'm going to go first because I would like to make a point after reading the weather forecast. Brian Robinson, as we hit number 1. That's a fine for you.
I have they're on the same. I got to use my other.
Oh, I see what happened there. That's a bad job by you, though, of pre-planning.
Yeah.
These are the kinds of things you got to... Come on, man. You know, it would be appropriate here.
Come on, man.
Well, also the scream. But, I'm now just catching you
Number one.
all over the place. All right, number one, Brian Robinson. There could be wind gusts of 40 miles an hour, and it seems like that's best case scenario. We might be talking 50 to 60 mile an hour winds, even if there isn't a ton of rain. Like, it is going to be heinous in terms of trying to throw the football on Sunday. Ophelia is now a named storm. That is the tropical storm that is currently off the coast of North Carolina. It is intensified more than people initially expected. We should have had Sheehan on today for a weather report. Like, that's his deal.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, what a missed opportunity. But I was reading from Capital Weather Gang in the Washington Post in the break, and this was unexpected. It was supposed to say more like tropical depression, maybe low-grade tropical storm. It is now within 5 miles an hour wind speed of a hurricane. So we're talking 70-mile-an-hour winds as it comes up the coast of North Carolina, ultimately Virginia, and then hits the D.C. area Sunday morning and then possibly into Sunday afternoon in the game time. So, again, because we're on the outskirts of it, we're not 100% sure. They're not 100% sure. I say we like I did anything more than read a freaking article on the internet. But they're not sure if there's going to be a ton of rain. There also could be a ton of rain. Like, it could be dumping buckets of rain sideways. But fairly certain, at the very least at this point, there's going to be massive winds on Sunday. So, even with Sam Howell's arm, good luck throwing it at all. Just run the ball. At that point, Brian Robinson becomes your most important player. So I will take B-Rob as my number one.
Number two.
Mr. Hoffman, number two. I'm going to go with, and this might shock you a little bit, but Commanders punter Tress Way.
The best player on the team.
Yes. I'm going to go with Tress, and pretty much because this is going to be it's going to be tough to move the ball if it's, under the weather condition that you just described. So I'm thinking if we can find a way to dictate or, change field position and go out there and be able to capitalize on like having short fields or, not having to go too far, I think that'll work in our favor. But, Tress Way, he's done a great job just to start the season in terms of sometimes, pinning punts and things of that nature. So if we can, get one of those games where Tress has a big day, whether it's a big kick or he's pinning people inside the 10 and 5, I think our defense and just the rest of the team will be able to capitalize on that.
I mean, in theory, I hear you.
Is this wishful thinking, man?
If these winds are 40 miles an hour, like, what's he going to do?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess Tress is, I'm not going to be like, oh, it doesn't matter if he's punting or I'm punting. Like, I'm not going to do one of those bits because that would be very stupid and very incorrect. But, like, his impact is going to be limited. Like, you put the ball up in the air and you hope that it comes down somewhere remotely close to where you wanted it to.
Yeah.
He obviously knows how to play the wind to an extent, but, I mean, this is, like, if it's 60 miles an hour, the second it leaves your foot, pew! Like, it's one of those things that, like, honest to God, Anthony, like, if the wind is going, I don't know what way the stadium is oriented, but, if the wind is going in your face versus at your back versus sideways, if the wind is in your face, punting is pointless. So is field goal kicking. Like, I guess a field goal is probably more likely to be successful because you can maybe cut the ball through the wind a little bit, but, like, long field goals, good luck. Punts the way, like, because a football going end over end, I feel like has a little bit better chance of cutting through the wind.
Yeah.
So maybe, like, can you rugby style? Like, I don't know if Tress has a rugby punt in his repertoire, but I would try to keep that thing low and have it bounce as far as I can. I would try to hit someone with it before I try to, like, hang one up in the air. Dude, if that thing is in your face, like, that affects your decision making as a head coach of whether or not you go for it. And not just like, hey, we're at the 33, we're in no man's land. This is a 60-yard field goal. Obviously, hey, if the wind's at your back, then sweet. Like, pooch it up there and let the wind carry it through the uprights if it's straight at your back. But like, if you're in, inside your own 30-yard line and punting, it's going to go 5 yards. Like, do you just go for it? Like, is this the analytics nerd's dream?
Man.
I'm not. If the winds are 50 miles an hour, I'm not doing a bit here.
Yeah. It's gonna be. I don't know.
I hate it so much. I just want a good football game.
Maybe I got some. It's a little bit of wishful thinking there.
I'd also like to walk through the parking lot without getting drenched and/or knocked over.
We'll see. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. So I agree. If Tress can manage the game, if that becomes a thing,
yeah,
it's a great pick. I'm concerned that the wind might make him relatively useless.
Yeah.
Also, this is why you should have dome stadiums.
That too.
Like, people, I know that just made some people so mad. They need to play in the elements. It's football. For what? Would you rather have the wind decide the game or the players? Give me the players. Every day of the week, and especially on Sundays. We had a funny bit on Take Command this week because you know what we are. We're a podcast that publishes almost every day and twice on Sundays because we do the Take Command pregame and postgame show. So it's, twice on Sundays. Anyway, let's get to number 3.
Number 3.
I feel bad, Anthony, because I feel like I'm about to steal one of your dudes here. But Cody Barton. If we're saying the running game is going to be exceptionally important because of this wind situation, then it would make sense that stopping the run is exceptionally important as well. With that in mind, Cody Barton has got to be on his game. I do think he played better last week. Jack Del Rio thought he played a lot better last week. He is starting to learn how to play off of Jamin. He's starting to learn how to play off of John and Duran and Chase Montez, understanding there's going to be times these guys go try to make plays. You have to be ready for that and fill in where they might leave a gap. Sometimes it won't matter because they're going to make said play, but on the occasion that they miss, where do they force the ball and are you there to clean it up? Cody Barton is exceptionally important to this defense. And frankly, for him personally, if he does not continue to grow and get better at his job, it won't be his job for the rest of the season. I don't think that's a change that's coming next week, but it could come the week after that. Maybe after the Chicago game, do they get through week 5 with the hope that Chicago's a softer landing spot, slash is a short week. You don't want to change too much up. I don't know, but he's got to continue to grow and play better. This is potentially a grand opportunity because there is going to be plenty of run reps if this wind is that serious on Sunday.
Number 4.
Number 4, Mr. Hoffman. I'm going to go with our guy, Sadiq Charles.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm going with Sadiq. He has a big test this week. Ed Oliver, he's no scrub, no slouch. And not to say everybody else on the offensive line doesn't have a test, but I think if we can get Sadiq Charles to be, play consistent, I think that'll bode well for the rest of the offensive line. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people have been wanting to see out of Sadiq Charles, him be a little bit more consistent. I don't think he particularly had all that good of a game week 1, but I think the offensive line as a whole definitely last week had a good game. So I'm looking to see, Sadiq Charles be consistent, go out there and see how he measures up against Ed Oliver.
I like that. Because Ed Oliver is a potential game wrecker. He's had a very, very good year so far. I think the other interesting guy on that side is Gregory Rousseau. And talking to some of the Buffalo guys, Rousseau's had, everyone goes oh, well, he's been good, but you can't call him consistent. It's 2 games. It was Matt Beauvais who was on with us yesterday. He's like, Rousseau was great all camp long. This is the year for him. He's at that point in his progression where he should be taking his next step, and it seems like he has. And so if they're going to stunt and twist and all that kind of stuff, Rousseau might wind up in Sadiq's lap as well. Also a guy you're going to have to deal with on the edge if you get out in the screen game, if you pull. I think that's a great call because I also think the screen, if again, the wind, what can you do passing the ball? Shorter passes.
Yep.
So the screen game could potentially be pretty important there, which actually is talking about let's play a passing game. That brings me to
Number 5.
Cole Turner, time to step up, young man.
Yes, sir.
Logan Thomas out with a concussion. Not only does he need to obviously bring a lot more than he has in the run game, that is the biggest concern for him. He's lighter. This is a former converted wide receiver. They've tried to keep him out of inline situations because he's just not that good as a blocker. But he has a chance to change that narrative this weekend. He has a chance to go out and say, like, no, I'm a tight end now. I can do this. And if you have 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus mile an hour winds, the throws to the outside are the ones that are most off limits. That's where the wind can get a hold of it more. Shorter throws over the middle that don't have to carry as much air yards. A 5-yard out to the sideline is a long throw. A 5-yard curl is about 9 yards from hand to hands, if you will, right? 4 or 5 yards back in the pocket, 5 yards over the ball. You can cut that ball through the wind if you've got an arm as strong as Sam Howell. So he's got to be reliable. He's got to catch it. He's got to get open. He's got to get open quickly against this Buffalo pass rush. Give Sam the option. Can you make a guy miss? Like, you're not going to be able to throw the ball down the field with any air yardage. Even if you have the wind at your back, like timing that thing up, if the winds are that strong, good luck. So can you make guys miss and generate explosive plays as a ball carrier, not necessarily as a person catching a ball that was thrown a long way? Cole Turner's capable of that. He's got to do it for them to have a good chance with Logan Thomas out on Sunday.
Man, Milano, man, that's going to be his guy. That's going to be his guy. He has a tall task.
Has anyone done more for Matt Milano's stock this week than your boy? Did you see the Bills Twitter going crazy with EB's answer yesterday? Yo, I saw it come up multiple places. So I asked, for those that missed it, I asked Eric Bieniemy about Matt Milano, and EB lit up in a way that you typically don't see about an opponent. Like, he should have lit up with fear with how effusive he was in his praise. He's like, God, we got to play this dude. So I asked EB about Bills linebacker Matt Milano, and he just goes off for 90 seconds being like, let me give this man his flowers. He is so good. I've been, dealing with him for years in Kansas City. This guy is different. He's so smart. He's fast. He's physical. He does everything right. I know Sean, he goes as far to be like, I know Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier. I've known them personally for most of my life. I know the kind of character it takes to play that position for them, and this young man's got it. Just effusive. And all the Buffalo people are like, that's the greatest answer ever. And I'm like, you are welcome. For me, I asked Bieniemy what do you do strategically, or what changes when that is the case. You have to play a Matt Milano, and he didn't answer that at all. He just said nice things about Matt Milano.
Yeah.
So damn. But you're welcome, Western New York.
Yes, they are. Welcome. Yes, they are. But that brings me
to number 6.
Talk about a game changer, game record for the Bills. It brings me to Chase Young. I would be remiss if I didn't bring him up. In part because of the week he had last week. Again, being able to build off the second half that he had, I think this is more so a game I'm looking for him to, have one of those splash plays. I'm not necessarily looking for, another second half, 2-sack game, but I'm looking for, a couple of TFLs or, a forced fumble or a deflection, a hand batted or something along those lines where, he has his imprint on the game. And we still know that, Chase Young, this is the guy that we seen in 2020 when he went out and won Rookie of the Year. I'm looking for a splash play, and I think Chase Young, he'll be able to provide that. Again, we need turnovers, and if we're going to win the turnover battle, I think it starts up front in them trenches.
Yeah, no, that's a great call. Honorable mentions that I'll give real quick. Cam Curl, I think, is exceptionally important as the Buffalo nickel in this game. They need a guy, they're going to play a lot of 12 personnel. They got 2 tight ends. They're both named Dalton. They're both very good. Cam Curl is going to be on one of them. And then how do they cover the other? Does Percy Butler see a lot of time on the field? I think so. Does Khaleke Hudson wind up playing a little bit more? I think that could be an interesting name to watch. He hasn't played basically at all defensively so far. I don't think he's played a snap defensively so far this year.
2 linebackers.
But this could be the week for Khaleke Hudson to play. I guess it's kind of base, but it's kind of nickel. Do you put him out there and basically call it Buffalo nickel against their 12 personnel? I think that's a very interesting idea. I don't know if they'll do it. That's me spitballing, not me with any kind of information. But when you talk about the options that they have, with Quan Martin out, this would have been a big Quan Martin game potentially. Unfortunately, he is still. Is he out? Wait, Or is he not out?
I think he practiced.
He's back. So Quan Martin could wind up on the field, for the first time since the season opener where he got that concussion. But, he obviously in the preseason, yikes, wasn't that good. Had a bunch of plays made on him. But then you talk about week 1, he doesn't play any defensive snaps. So is he back to just playing teams? Like, that becomes a very interesting decision for them. So I'm very curious to see how they match it too, because like a lot of times when teams go 12 personnel, you might, if you're Jack Del Rio, match it with your Cinco front, get 5 defensive linemen on the field to combat the potential running of the football. Well, when both those tight ends are wide receiver caliber receivers, that becomes more of an issue. So I think it's going to be a very, very interesting chess match between Ken Dorsey, the Bills offensive coordinator, and Jack Del Rio. Obviously, a fascinating chess match between Sean McDermott and Eric Bieniemy the other way. That's our pick 6 here on the Hoffman Show. We do it each and every Monday and Friday where we pick 6 players and we tell you who we think is going to have the most impact in the game. We get back. Damon Amendolara joins us here on the Team 980.
Mr. Fortier, how are you, and are you using the headphones that I sent you?
I am using the headphones that you send me, so I'll not be pulled over. And I got to tell you, man, seeing the craziness coming out of Chicago today with the Justin Fields comment, with the DC abruptly resigning, it's just like giving me flashbacks to what this team used to be like. And I'm like, wow, I'm talking about football in a stadium? That feels odd.
Right. One, God, this call quality is just exceptional. So just, I gotta say, I'm going to send you a clip later just so you can hear how clear you are. 2, we actually, so earlier in the show, we did a segment called This, That, and the Other Thing, and we wound up putting the Bears stuff in that. And yeah, it felt very oddly familiar, but also safely distant, which I think is good. All right, we got a lot to get to and not a lot of time. So first, let's...
Yes. James Smith-Williams just pulled up and honked at me. I'm on the radio with Craig Hoffman right now. Do you want to say something?
What's up, James?
How you doing, man?
What's up, James? Although you probably can't hear it because this is just in Sam's headphones.
Quick. Craig, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Feeling good. Just talking to Sam. Last time we did a hit with Sam, he put Matt Paris and Ben Standing on, so this is an upgrade.
Way better. Yeah, way better.
Yeah.
Definitely an upgrade.
All right, let's make sure nobody gets in trouble here. All right, James, drive home safely.
Thank you. You have a good one.
All right, goodbye. James Smith-Williams, everybody. I mean, that's been an ongoing bit.
Oh, okay.
I think Travis Kelce's got the best bit of all. He's just dating Taylor Swift. So,
that
forget the lyrics. and then we got our guy Ian Eagle talking about Travis Kelce finding blank space in the end zone. Now, that's how you do it. By the way, I did follow up. For those of you that listened to the end of the show on Monday, we said we're going to have to investigate. Was that, did Noah Eagle feed Ian, his dad, the lyric? I texted Ian. I was like, we might have to have you on the show to do this. And he's like, there's nothing to investigate. I'm just a Swiftie.
Ooh, okay.
And I was like, oh, well, there goes the segment idea, Ian.
Did you see Jason Kelce confirm the rumors, though?
Yes, he kind of did on WIP today, which is very silly. Jason, your podcast is very good and very successful. If you're going to confirm the biggest rumor in the celebrity world,
exactly,
don't do it on, do it on a radio show, obviously. Don't do it on a radio show. Do it on your own podcast, you moron. I'm just kidding, Jason. You're definitely not a moron. Jason Kelce, not a moron. It was just not why am I doing... Let's keep going with the comments. we have a new submission to the Real Things Hall of Fame. The F-35 is a fighter jet that the military has. It is very expensive. Very expensive. The F-35 program costs the U.S. government / the military over $1 trillion. Like, this is one of the most expensive things in the U.S. government's budget is the program that makes these planes. Each one is incredibly valuable and expensive. And something happened during a training mission, but this jet leaves, they go on a training mission, and it's in stealth mode, apparently, and the pilot has to eject. So the pilot's like, I'm up out of here. Pilot lands relatively safely, has, I think, an injury or two that has to be tended to, but, like, is alive. But then they lost the jet. So the jet disappeared from the radar. The U.S. government's like, well, we don't know where the jet is. And so the Buford, which is the suburb not suburb, it's in South Carolina. It's by Charleston. Close enough. If people are actually from there and don't want to say that and want to say it's by Hilton Head, I know I grew up in the state. Leave my geography alone for the sake of the story, which I've now made less efficient by telling you all of those things because I can't help myself. Talk about a plane crash. Hey, we're back. So the F-35 gets essentially lost, and they're like, I don't know where this very expensive warplane went. And lo and behold, sometime the next day or later that day, it crashes somewhere, and luckily no one's hurt. But this $100 million plane is gone. Whoopsies. We crashed the plane. And this is an eyewitness account from a Charleston area television station of someone who heard the crash.
In the bathroom taking a shave, and I heard a screeching, between a screech and a whistle. I said, what in the world is this? And I heard a boom. Then my whole house shook.
White says he didn't realize it was a plane at the time, so he didn't call anybody.
He first started getting me. I said, my supposed to meteorite come out of space or something? And I said, well, if it's an airplane, it needed to be reported. Let the thing be flying this too low.
The F-35B airplane wreckage created an extensive debris field.
That voice, we gotta get a drop for the voice because it might be better than Steph Curry's.
I was gonna say, I feel like we have to do a comparison. Can I pull this off with? Yeah, okay. So I had to compare or see if I had enough channels on the board to do this. But we got Steph Curry here. We got Charlie Brown here. And we got our mans here.
His is better, though.
I think his is the best one. His is definitely, it's not quite Charlie Brown. It's definitely close to Steph Curry, though.
Yes.
We'll see you tomorrow. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. We are always live on the free Odyssey app. We also stream live on YouTube at the Team 980. Joining us now, a man you can watch and listen to in many of those same places, the free Odyssey app. You can also watch his show on YouTube on CBS Sports Radio's channel. It is Damon Amendolara. DA, good Friday evening, sir.
Good Friday evening to you as well. How we doing?
Doing well. We will say, we told the audience at this time yesterday that we were going to pull a magic trick on them because we
typically you and I tape this interview. This is live. This is actually happening. I'm talking to DA right now at 6:32, 18, 19, 20 seconds. But I was going to do like a reverse haircut in the middle of the show. But you've kind of ruined the bit, Damon, which is very anti what you stand for. You're all about the bit. What happened?
Well, I am totally committed to the bit, but you know what this is? It just shows that everything around DC football is turning smoothly now. It used to be dysfunctional. We'd have reverse haircuts going on, disjointed nonsense. Now it seems like there's a real reasonable expectation that, things will run efficiently and better. Now, look, the Hoff Show has live DA, so that's big.
That is big. That is big. And you also made that so incredibly seamless because I want to ask you, like, do you think the Commanders are for real? Like, they're playing Buffalo this weekend. The Bills seem like they got week one out of their system last week. They won 38-10. Do you think the Commanders have a shot to pull the upset?
Yeah, I do. In fact, earlier today I do a pick segment called The Wizard of Odds, and one of the Wizard's picks was Commanders plus the 6. Now, I came into the season very skeptical on Sam Howell. I thought it was yet another Washington franchise hope misguided, and thought there was too much hype behind not enough substance. And as I watched the first 2 weeks, and granted they messed around and should have blown out the Cardinals and didn't, but as I watched this offense evolve, especially last week, I thought, boy, in his third start, it's undeniable that Sam Howell runs an offense more effectively than Zach Wilson in season number 3. And maybe that's Eric Bieniemy, maybe that's Howell, maybe that's a little bit of both. But there was no doubt I was watching last week a quarterback that understood reads, understood progressions, understood who was supposed to be open. It wasn't perfect, clearly. And after, the sluggish start, they finally caught wind. But at the same time, I was like, this looks functional. And there was a lot of things that I thought were very translatable week to week. So, I'm not going to predict them to go to the playoffs necessarily or win 11 games or something. But in terms of functional offense with a functional quarterback and things looking like arrow trending up, I'm a believer in that.
Damon Amendolara, host, of course, of the DA Show, 6 to 10 a.m. Weekdays on CBS Sports Radio, and Sunday Morning Football, same place, just different time, 10 a.m. to noon. You can listen to it all on the free Odyssey app. So if they're off, it's interesting because you're like, okay, well, I like the offense. I like Howell. Their defense is the thing that everyone was excited for before the season. But then you're like, well, I'm not going to pick them to make the playoffs or anything. So where is the point where you're just not quite there yet, where you're like, oh, this team could actually be in the playoffs?
Well, at head coach, I wonder about Rivera on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis, game management, time management, proper focus, etc. I mean, the way that week one went down against what I think is going to be a horrendous Cardinal squad was certainly concerning. And then the way that they began last week, where, the Broncos jumped out to the big lead, is certainly concerning. So I don't know if week to week I can trust the effort, the focus, execution, game management, etc. I think they have talent both sides of the football, and I think the NFC is really muddled. I mean, I'm not breaking any incredible code here, but the 49ers are the best team in the NFC. The Eagles might have the best talent in the NFC, and the Cowboys are somewhere in that vicinity, although the loss of Diggs is a big one. After that, I don't have a lot of trust in anybody. So if you told me that the Commanders actually figure out a way to sniff 10 wins and they make the playoffs, not shocking. If you tell me good offense, good quarterback play for most of the season, but they messed around and lost a couple of games they shouldn't have, went on a 3-game losing streak and finished 7-10, that's not shocking either. So I think overall I need to see more continuity and consistency from the Commanders. But like I said, there were things last week that I said, boy, at the very least, this looks functional, which it hasn't in a long time.
That is true. Okay, we're going to play a game, and I'm sorry I didn't warn you about this, but I thought of it 30 seconds ago. But I feel like it's a good way to talk about a lot of the teams that have been a surprise so far. So we're going to play a game called Are They Really That Bad? There's a bunch of 0-2 teams that nobody.
This is my type of game.
Yeah.
This is my type of game.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a bunch of teams that they're 0-2, and you're like, are they really that bad? So I called the game, Are They Really That Bad? See, I changed the intonation a little bit, so it wasn't quite as direct. Let's start with two teams that are playing each other. One of these teams is going to be 0-3, the Chargers and the Vikings. Chargers first. They're 0-2. Are they really that bad?
No, they have the talent to be 2-0. They were in 2 games that they lost in somewhat heartbreaking fashion. Certainly week number 1, a play here, play there, and they knock off the Dolphins. So are they really as bad as 0-2? No. But again, we go to trustworthiness. I mean, you can't trust Brandon Staley. You can't trust the Chargers to ever, quote, live up to the hype. But they're not as bad as an 0-3 team would traditionally be.
So I have said I'm going down with the Viking ship. It might already be at the bottom of the sea, and I'm still screaming, I'm going to go down with the ship. And some people are like, hey, bro, it's down. Vikings, 0-2. Are they really that bad?
Yes, they're really that bad. I've never been a Cousins fan. I'm not I think last season there was this is the evening out of a team that won however many single score games. You know, the larger your sample size, the more you end up trending right to the mean.
It was 11.
And so they won right. Okay, so and they went 13-4 last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Like that.
So 11 of their 13 wins were one-score games, and they'll be locked in, let's say, 10 one-score games this year and lose 7 of them. So, yeah, this is a much more, to me, you look at it, and that looks and feels a lot more like an 0-3 if they lose.
All right, what about the Patriots? They got Belichick. You'd think, I mean, they're facing Zach Wilson. And so when we did our pick segment earlier, I was like, I'm going to pick Belichick against Zach Wilson. But they're 0-2 so far. Are they really that bad?
Yeah, it's funny because this is the most interesting 0-2 versus 1-1 game you could have because there is so much on the line for whoever wins and whoever loses. If the Patriots lose this game, they have allowed the Jets to finally become equals. I mean, they have beaten the Jets 14 straight times in a division where, I mean, it's just divisional foes. This never happens where you sweep the same team for 7 straight years and beat them at their house every single year as well. So if the Patriots fall to 0-3 and have been beaten by Zach Wilson, you can really look at the Patriots as one of the worst teams in the NFL. And look, they lost the first 2 games closely, but if you watch the games, they really weren't as good as their opponents. They're not as good as the Eagles. They're not as good as the Dolphins, and they kind of messed around late and kept it close enough. But they're not in that category of playoff teams. So if they fall to 0-3, it's really alarming. If the Jets can't beat the Patriots after 14 straight losses at home, with all this preseason hype of one of the historically great defenses, and I know there's Zach Wilson in there, so that's a problem. But if you're the Jets and you have been deflated already because of the injury to Rodgers, and now you've lost to the 0-2 Patriots at home for the 15th straight time, the season is effectively over. So there's never been more pressure on a 1-1 versus an 0-2 game than maybe this one.
Yeah, the Patriots, to me, are in a weird spot because they've lost to 2 of the best teams in the league. Like, the 2 teams they've lost to could wind up playing in the Super Bowl. So at that point, like, are you that bad? Not based off those 2, but if you go lose this one, like, yeah, you might be. All right, 2 more with Damon Amendolara, DA, of course, on CBS Sports Radio, weekday morning, 6 to 10 a.m. Listen on the free Odyssey app. We got 2 more. The Bengals first, and then we got a special guest, if you will, for the last one. But the Bengals are also in a weird spot because Burrow hasn't been healthy, and it looks like he's not going to play Monday night. They're already 0-2. Are the Bengals that bad?
So over an overview from 30,000 feet, no. There's talent both sides of the football. They were my preseason Super Bowl pick. I love the offense. I love the weapons. They've got a great offensive line now as well. Their defense is wildly underrated. They've knocked on the door the last 2 years. They've been to a Super Bowl. They're a play away from winning a Super Bowl, and last year they went to the AFC Championship game and were very clearly the second best team of the AFC. So nothing changed about the Bengals except for Joe Burrow's calf. It's the only thing that changed about the Bengals. So they are not a true 0-2 team or an 0-3 team because this is largely just because of the calf. The problem is, as you say, if Burrow's not playing or not playing well and they're losing games, it doesn't really matter if they're not a true 0-2 or 0-3 team. You've already dug the hole. They've traditionally started slow, finished fast, and that's fine. But there's only so much you can dig and then just expect to flip the switch. So they're not a real 0-2 team, but they're also not in a safe zone at all because this calf injury, who knows how long it lingers for Burrow.
Right. A real sticky wicket they found themselves in.
That's exactly right.
And then the last one, the special guest, they're 1-2, but they're fascinating. The New York Giants look completely non-competitive for, let's do the math here, 5 of 6 halves that they've played so far. Their one half of excellent football in the comeback is against the Cardinals, who, as previously discussed, not very good. Are the Giants really bad?
Yeah. I don't
There's so much sadness in your voice when you said that.
Well, they've been so uninspiring for this entire season that kind of like the Vikings regressing to the mean, it feels like this season might be exactly that for Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones. And I don't blame the Giants for signing Daniel Jones. They're in that spot that many Commanders fans are familiar with where you don't want to spin the wheel of quarterback forever. So you got something that's good enough and you go, all right, let's just lock it in. And Jones is coming off a career year. But when you watch them against the Cowboys, yeah, a lot of things went wrong, no doubt, and they got sideways on them. But the talent discrepancy is so massive between the Cowboys and the Giants. You watched the Niners last night. The Niners are clearly one of the best teams in football. The talent discrepancy between both the Giants and Niners is outrageous. Like Debo and McCaffrey and Kittle and Purdy and pick 5 of their defensive players and 3 of their offensive linemen would all start for the Giants. So it's like they're not even in that weight class. So it's a team that had 2 really tough opponents off the top. But I think that they're more like a 6 or 7 win team this year than what happened last season.
Yeah, I believed in them big time because I really love the way that they're coached. But eventually the pumpkin, or it turns back into a pumpkin if you don't have the talent. And it seems real pumpkin-y up in New York right now.
Yeah, it's
on
a
the
lot
blue
of
side
pumpkin
things.
spice right now with the Giants.
And it's the time of year, man. So, what can you do?
Yeah.
All right. Damon Amendolara, weekday mornings, 6 to 10 a.m. on CBS Sports Radio. And not Good Morning Football. That's a different show. Sunday Morning Football. That show's not on Sundays. So, I guess you could be. You could just say Good Morning Football and see if they come after you.
Sunday, Good Morning Sunday Football is what we're going to use.
Just go for it. See, the NFL's not litigious at all. You'll be fine. Sunday Morning Football, 10 a.m. to noon on CBS Sports Radio nationwide and on the free Odyssey app. DA, thank you, sir. We'll talk to you next Friday. Have a phenomenal weekend.
Okay, you too, Hoff. Thanks, man.
You got it. That is Damon Amendolara, everybody. A quick look at what's trending, and then we will close out the show with real things real people said into real microphones. To Sam specifically and some of these protections and some of the plays themselves, like what did you take away from watching the tape?
Yeah, 30,000-foot view. I think again with stuff we talked about on the pod right after the game, like it's just how resilient the team was and the character of the team and their ability to kind of switch the tide there. 21-3 is a tough look. You get that fumble by Jamin, then you get a drive that's not the most pretty drive in the world. It's a little bit of a slogfest. Screen to Cole Turner ends up being almost a first down. They get the first down on a run by B-Rob, and they run that jet sweep to Curtis. Like that, again, it's like a little bit of kind of we're getting into the deep bag of trips. Then on 4th down, they get that amazing play to Logan Thomas and that hit, and you're just like, wow. That the turnover to that awesome character by the team, right? Then you come back out, the defense goes 3 and out, then you get a drive, and one of the best throws I've seen in a long time from anyone within this organization, that throw to Bates on that cover 2 shot. Like, oh my gosh, on a 3rd and 13 to kick a field goal, and all of a sudden it's 14-21 coming out of half. You get a stop by Deron Payne, 3 and out. I mean, I say Deron Payne, it's the defense, but Deron
No,
Payne
you got to stop by Deron Payne. We were joking yesterday on the show. Michael Phillips was on with us, and literally, I was like, Michael, you and I could have played safety for Cam Curl and Derek Forrest, and that series would not have been any different.
Right. And so then great job by him. And again, you just like big moments, the big players stepping up in those moments, and then that next offensive drive is the Terry touchdown, and you're just like, holy cow! Like there was no time in between. It was like you got the fumble by Jamin, that drive we score, 2-minute drive, like it was like they had 55 seconds or something like that. They get points, 3 and out, points, and it's just like that. That is something I can't articulate how hard that is to do offensively, given the environment, given the conditions, given how that defense and the offense was playing in the first half, and then for them just to say like, no, we're not going to do this anymore.
It's the Hoffman Show on a Friday. Last segment of the week here on the Team 980 and streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. Don't be late on Monday for the show. We get started 4 o'clock sharp with our 1st and 10. First segment, 10 observations. You do not want to miss it. We'll revisit our pick 6 at 6 o'clock. Michael Phillips at 5. We are always loaded on a Monday. And, of course, Take Command has you covered on Sunday. Take Command pregame show, 10 a.m. Logan Paulsen and I live from Tap Sports Bar at MGM National Harbor. You can listen to the show on the Team 980 and on YouTube. You can watch it at the Team 980. We simulcast on the Fan as well. And, of course, where, Anthony? Where can they listen? Nationwide, wherever you are?
The Odyssey app?
Not just in the Odyssey app. The free Odyssey app.
I apologize.
Yeah. Our bosses are going to be so mad at you.
Free Odyssey app.
There you go. All right. So that's all the housekeeping. That's all the things you need to know.
Oh, we didn't give our prediction.
Oh, we got to do that. I guess the other thing I would say is for on-demand content from this here radio show, make sure you subscribe on YouTube at Craig Hoffman. We throw a bunch of great stuff on there. So if you don't catch the show, we try to take the best of it there. And then we also, of course, have the podcast if you would like it in audio form. Okay. With that, Bills, Commanders, who you got?
I previewed it yesterday, Craig. I'm sticking to my guns. I'm going with the Commanders in a tight game. I think we win 17-13. I need to see the line. I'm definitely taking the under, though.
Yeah, this win has me very nervous about scoring. Buffalo's a better team. They've got, and it's because, not that Sam Howell's not good, not that I think don't you dare out there put that evil on me. It's just that on any given day, Josh Allen can be the best quarterback on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like two guys that get to say that. And on most days, it's Patrick Mahomes. And on the other days, it's Josh Allen. It's because Allen rises to a level that even Mahomes is like, I don't know if I can do that. And in terms of bad weather, if there's one quarterback who can cut through the wind and all that stuff, it's Allen. And so I do think the Commanders have a great chance. I do think this will be close. I think it'll be competitive. I think it'll be a good game. But I am taking the Buffalo Bills to take things home. I don't know, 24-17 type of score. I don't know what to do with the score because of the conditions. So the Bills are going to win. How about that? All right, time for Real Things Real People Said into real microphones.
Real things.
We're not going to be sucked this year.
Real people.
5-11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
Last night at Yankee Stadium, Stephen A. Smith threw out one of the worst first pitches you will ever see. Bounced it about 3/4 of the way to the mound. Thoroughly embarrassing. Why would you ever sign up to do that if that's how you throw a baseball? So today on First Take, they had a field day with him, including Dan Orlovsky and his entire family.
First thing here, bud, we gotta get rid of this. Jeez. Stop leaving bottles around.
Picking up trash, throwing it short.
Okay, get your hats out of here.
Dad, stop being like Stephen A!
Yeah, that was blasphemous.
Oh, they got him. You hate when...
Unfabulous. Terrible.
That's terrible. That's horrible. Orlovsky, how do you get your kids in on it? All right, that's great. We'll see you Monday on the Hoffman Show. See you Sunday for Take Command.
The Commanders NFL